Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, an actual criminal law firm in central Minnesota. With me today is Marc fucking Randazza. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Just out here in my Vegas hideout. They just started, I swear.
We're about to go live and all chirp, it's over. This is destined for greatness.
I am not fucking climbing up there to fix that right now.
You know, with your hourly rates, there's no reason that anyone should ever hear a chirp ever. There should be a legion of French maids fixing that right now.
They're all on their night off. That's why I'm doing the show from the condo here.
Well, man, it's great to have you on. Today, I would like to talk to you about what happened. I guess it was it Thursday or something like that? It was just at the end of last week.
Yes, yeah. Was that Bastille? What was it? What happened that day?
2.5 years of pointless litigation ended in a sputter.
Yeah, it's like World War I, man. It's
just like, well, it's over now.
Yeah, let's quit. Yeah, it was kind of funny, you know. Quite a trip that case was, because we had some ins and outs and what have yous. You know, the funnest part about it was I'm disappointed. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that the case is over, because that's the ultimate goal in a defense case, right? For it to be over. Right.
Get out of it.
So we got it over. But you know, I was really disappointed that we weren't going to be able to actually litigate the anti-slap issue again. Right. You know, and maybe something only a lawyer could love, but you'll remember we went to the appeals court, and they really said two things: that we're not going to have an let you use the Colorado anti-slap law, where Monty apparently lives.
Can't tell, because his lawyer decided to write two different things under oath.
Yeah, I mean, first he swears he lives in Colorado, then he swears he lives in Illinois, and his GoFundMe says he lives in Colorado. I don't know where the guy lives. You know, for all I know, he's not even a real person. But
the photos that he submitted from before I had ever even heard about him or talked to him, that he said were me stalking him, those photos were from Colorado as well. So that's kind of fun.
You know, the two underpinnings of the appellate decision were that you know, they bought this argument that no Minnesota court should ever uphold an anti-slap. Well, Minnesota now has passed its own anti-slap law, so that pillar was kicked out. And then they said that Colorado couldn't figure out how to interpret its own anti-slap law, but they have a Colorado Supreme Court decision coming out that's going to resolve that. So we were going to get another bite at that. But then, you know, he complained, saying, well, we want discovery. Now,
right.
If too much litigation, you'll know that state court judges, well, most judges, state and federal judges, just love the idea of letting the parties engage in discovery, because then they don't have to make a decision. The parties just beat the hell out of each other and make the judge's life easier. Now, you go in front of almost any judge and say, Judge, don't end this case yet. We haven't gotten discovery. Most judges are going to say, yeah, I think you should get discovery. So when he asked for an extension on discovery, you know, Monty's new lawyer came to me and said, we want, I don't remember what he asked for initially. He asked for like 60 days. And I said, dude, take 120 for all I care. So he took the 120. And then we gave him your discovery.
Right.
And that
was damn hard on.
Yeah, you said hard on. The fun part about it is, you know, when you sometimes people feel like you should resist giving up discovery. And I'm like, man, fuck that. When we've got stuff that actually slaps them in the face and says, well, here's how dumb your case is. Here's the proof of it. Why not give it to them? give it to him right off the bat. But the really fun part was then we sent our discovery request to him, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, he's Consuela and Family Guy.
No,
I got no money.
It was beautiful. The funny thing, so the first discovery all happens kind of behind the curtain. There's nothing preventing it from being released other than it might not be prudent to do during litigation. But otherwise, it's, we can talk about discovery. We can talk about what was in discovery or not, like to any extent, really.
Well, sometimes there's a protective order.
Right.
But
in
here,
there's not. We
actually never got any discovery out of them. So we can talk about what we asked them for. And frankly, you are free to disclose what you gave up.
Right.
He may be bound. I'm not too embarrassed to say I don't remember if there's a protective order in place or not here, but nothing he gave up was difficult to find.
Right. And I don't remember anything like that. But so the first part of discovery in this case that was really interesting is the fact that we needed it apparently. But the only fact in dispute, or the only missing piece of evidence, so to speak, was Monty's damages. And then Monty's side demands discovery, which is a weird thing because we didn't need discovery to resolve any of the issues. No. So defamation has, a statement of fact that is false, made by a third, or made about a third party. To someone else. The third party has to be identifiable, and then it has to be done with the requisite level of culpability, either negligence or probably in our case actual malice, but who knows. We got a pseudo public figure ruling on it.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't know. I was kind of surprised at how well this guy was known. I had never heard of him before the case. But I don't spend
in the right groups.
Yeah, I guess if you spend a lot of time rooting through the bargain bin at the dipshit store, you're going to find all kinds of interesting characters. But this guy was new to me.
But the crazy thing about the case is, or it's not crazy. I never denied making any of the statements. Fully agreed that I made them. And said, okay, we agree on all of the facts that are out there. And that's strategic because Minnesota, basically you're going to go to summary judgment if you don't have anti-slap, and you hope that you get summary judgment so you don't have to go through, discovery or trial. But they asked for discovery, and the only thing in dispute was, because it's the only thing that really wasn't alleged, was Montegraff's damages.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how he was going to articulate those, but
right. And remember, I don't know why he needed discovery to get his own damages. That was the weird thing.
He really didn't. I don't think this case was well thought through. No, I got the impression that his first lawyer just didn't like you, and
well, that's retarded.
Yeah, he didn't like you, and this looked like an opportunity to fuck with you. That was the impression I got. He was always pretty polite to me, but I never got the impression he thought much of you. And I'm not saying that was fair. I'm just saying that's how.
Yeah, well, I guess that that decision paid off for him in no way at all that anyone can discern, because it seemed like he either took the case on contingency, or he was flat out I don't think he was working pro bono, but maybe he was working at some promise of future money coming back. But Montegraff never had any money as far as anyone could tell. And he did raise, I think he ended up raising $17,000 or something like that. Yep. And I have a feeling that almost all of that went to Schneider as a settlement for in what is it called, in quantum meruit, where you basically sue for the work that you did to be compensated under equity. And you can do that on even if you took a case on contingency, if you did sufficient work and then your withdrawals, whatever.
I think Monty started raising money when it was time for the appeal because David doesn't do appellate work.
Yeah, there's that too.
So I think most of that probably went to his appeals lawyer. But it just, the whole thing was so obviously dumb from the beginning that, I just don't know why it lasted this long. But I sure as hell thought that once they asked for 120 days worth of discovery and we said, okay, take it, we were at least going to start having a little bit of fun. Most of the fun we were going to have was when somebody's trying to prove a defamation case, they want to prove that you damaged them in some way, not just what are your damages, but part of that analysis is what was your reputation before?
Right.
So I got to make it worse. And, the more you dig into this guy, the more I was unable to find any real change. It was, I think the way I put it in our briefing was that it's like somebody brought a car to a smash up derby and then went and tried to sue you because you put a little scratch on the side of their car afterward. I don't know. This guy's got some fans, so I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. But some of just the batshit stuff that this guy has to say, I suppose that's the beauty of the internet, right? With 8 billion people connected to the internet, you only need about 800 fucking fuck faces to be internet famous. So him and his crowd of fuck faces are just, they're going to fuck face.
Look, I don't know if I'd call him a fuckface because that seems cruel when he is my government appointed ADA approved retard.
That was, when I was writing the briefing in this, it's like, I never work a day in my life. I think that's part of why we charged you so little on this thing was I couldn't stop laughing. Just the concept of you coming up with the gag of that the ADA is a government agency that assigns retards to people.
And then having it go in a lawsuit.
And then have somebody saying, I'm not a retard being assigned by the government.
Yes, you are. I can tell. You can't hide from me.
It's one of the only explanations for his obsession with you. So, and
yeah, because I don't get it. I was first exposed to him. This story, but for the chat, I was first exposed to him on a stream with Medicare back in, I think 2019, maybe it was 2018. It was a while back. It was very early in my YouTube career. And the stream was about him losing a lawsuit where he sued someone for defamation for calling him a kid toucher. And that was my first exposure to him. And then, as I looked through and researched, I found that other people had shared that opinion. So I actually found the lawsuit to be kind of surprising. One of the comments that I made specifically said, you have a terrible reputation. Like based on your reputation, here's the belief that I, have or whatever. And so I stated and referenced the reputation anyway, because as you said, you're going to have to prove that your reputation is in a worse place, a demonstrably worse place than it was in. And, for everybody that likes him, there are tons of people who don't. And part of the discovery, I hope you didn't go through that because I don't want to pay you for it. But part of the discovery is I got emails from people who were either prior associates or prior targets of his brand of, I'll call it harassment. People who knew people who had been driven to suicide by the antics of him and other people. At least they claim this. I don't know about the suicide stuff.
I doubt most of that. Most people have a way of over dramatizing everything on the internet.
Right.
But yes, I skimmed that discovery stuff, and man, there are a lot. The guy just, I don't know. I've watched his streams sometimes, and I'm baffled by it.
You ever
I'm
watch
by yours too, to be honest, but
so am I.
Yours is at least on some kind of human level. This is just like some weird guy in a basement. I don't even know how he pays the electric bill.
I've heard it's a TJ Maxx dressing room, honestly. The broadcast from. Have you ever seen him eating like multi-hours old shrimp, like sauteed shrimp that he's had sitting there for an entire live stream, and then he'll pick up a fork and start eating? It's like, oh my God, you're gonna die. You can't do that. Monty, no. Go find him
shrimp in Colorado.
Yeah, it wasn't fresh in the first place. But no, I mean, he's an interesting guy, though. And one of the things I'll say is the circles that he runs in. This is the only credibility I can give to the claims that people were really, really affected by the bullying. Is some of the communities that he runs in are very heavy and deep conspiracy theory communities. And those communities, not everybody in them, but those communities do attract really impressionable people who can get kind of locked into a subject and become almost obsessive about it. And so then you do have people who may have a lower self-image or some sort of social stunting that makes them more reactive to negative commentary about them. And so bullying them becomes kind of like a thing that can be done.
Yeah, so I just never, none of it ever looked serious enough to me. So maybe I hadn't thought it through that way, but just watching the guy age on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you ever watch the show I Think You Should Leave?
No. What is this?
Oh, dude, it's fucking hilarious. And there's this one skit in it where Santa Claus has become an actor and he's a real prick and he's doing an interview and he just like Santa Claus is just this asshole and it just reminds me of Monty. I guess my fiance noticed that I like a lot of I like shows that show Santa Claus depicted as a pervert or violent. So,
we need to dig into this trauma immediately. What happened?
Things you don't realize about yourself until someone who loves you observes you and says, boy, what is it with you and perverted or violent Santa Claus shows? And I'm like, Mom, I don't know.
Did Santa ask you to pluralize cannoli?
Oh, fuck you, fucking Mateus. Did Mateus put you up to that? Fuck you, Mateus. Fuck you.
What the hell is the story with that? Like...
Cannoli, when people say, I want a cannoli's fucking plural. You want a cannolo. Like if they want an arancini, it's not an arancini. Arancini's plural. Panini, cannoli. This isn't that fucking hard, people. It triggers me, obviously.
No, it's fine. How Italian are you?
Wicked Italian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm an Italian citizen. I've lived there a couple of times. I go back and forth. I teach there every year.
Holy shit, like you're really Italian.
Yeah, I speak fluent Italian. I speak Sicilian as well. So yeah.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Fuck no, man. That's fucking an abomination. That's
disgusting.
Yeah, see, now they're putting it in the fucking chat. Fuck you, not fucking cannolis, elephant.
Ellie, we know you're familiar with cannolis, and we do mean plural. Back off, girl.
Actually, you know where cannoli came from? It was when Sicily was conquered by the Moors, and some chick who was like, I don't know, what do they call the whatever the sheik or whatever of Caltanissetta. His wife was waiting while he came back, and she decided to make him because you could make the shells well in advance and then fill them with the cream right away when you want to serve them. And they're supposed to look like dicks. So
everybody loves filling stuff with cream.
Yeah, nothing says I love you like a woman who makes cock dessert for you while you're out having out there doing battle.
That is pretty cool. Like that's a good when you meet that girl in college, you marry her. What are you doing? Well, I'm out fighting battles, and when I come back, I have cock-shaped desserts. I don't know.
Yeah. So every time you're eating a cannolo, You're eating a figurative Arab cock.
That's really gay. I like it. It's perfect. I'm gonna start eating it more. I don't eat cannolis. Like I don't
Cannoli.
cannoli.
No S at the end of it.
Sorry, I don't like
It
Italy.
looks like that. When you and me have the same profile, you should be able to speak Italian.
Your country is shaped like a woman's boot.
It is.
That's true.
Yep.
It wasn't even an insult. Not Scott. I'll get to your. We have Mark for a limited time, and I'll address that stuff after when he's gone. One of the things, getting back to the Montegraph stuff, one of the things I found really interesting in the discovery that they requested was it's the first peek into their theory of the case, right? Like the real theory, and it was baffled. Like it was actually like the first stuff that Schneider sent. And then the later stuff that, I ended up answering was it was insane.
It was weird. Yeah.
They believed apparently that there was like a criminal conspiracy ring amongst like the LawTube community. And that was like that people got together and organized defamation campaigns through LawTube. And it's like most of these people aren't funny enough to defame someone.
No, it did seem that was the theory that not everybody could just spontaneously dislike him,
right?
All at the same time.
Yeah,
sometimes lots of people just don't like you, and
the weird thing is. And I don't mean anything negative by this at all, but he should be used to it. I mean, he's a controversial figure. He self-describes as a controversial figure, and he gets involved in these controversies. He calls up government officials, like on their personal cell phones that he somehow gets the numbers for and stuff like that. And he's proud of this stuff. And it's like, that's annoying for one. Yeah. So I would hate you if you did that to me. Like, could you imagine being Fauci and getting a phone call from Montegraph? Like that happened. That occurred. Fauci's sitting there in his house at night and his cell phone rings. He's like, hello there, Fauci. It's like, what? What?
I can't figure out the guy's politics. Like, is he like I mean, he seems to be like somewhat politically motivated, but like and then there was like somebody claims he had something to do with like JonBenet Ramsey. I mean, there's the stories. If any of the stories have any, I don't think any of the stories have any truth to them. But
they're all true.
But with them all swirling around, it's like, I'm surprised this guy hasn't been blamed for like faking the moon landing at this point.
Well, he's gonna go on the moon and break the necks of all the.
Well, the funniest part of the entire thing is that he's now declaring victory.
Yes, this is news to me in legal process. So can you break down, because like you're a much more experienced lawyer than I am, so I didn't think he won, but you tell me, because you lied to me and told me that I won.
Yeah, well, I had to justify my $837 bill. But yeah, so you have a plaintiff and a defendant. The plaintiff sues, the defendant defends. It's kind of like football. When the offense has the ball, they're trying to get across the end zone. If the offense doesn't get into the end zone, then the defense has won, right?
Yeah, you would think.
I mean, it doesn't take much of a fucking set of brain cells to figure out how defending a case works. If the case ends without giving the other guy anything, then you win.
Right. And I mean, the only thing he got was some discovery, and almost all of it was public, outside of some emails and stuff that I received. But like, mostly what probably actually might have tipped some of the scales of the case is I didn't really say much. There wasn't much from me to produce about him, because everything that I said was on the shows, and there were a couple emails that I responded to and stuff, but they had this. They seemed to have this assumption that I was talking to people all the time, and again, their entire premise. I mean, they were talking RICO at first, right? Like back in the halcyon days of the first discovery request.
Never RICO, people. If you think it's RICO or HIPPA, the number of calls I get like a month where people think they have a RICO case or a HIPPA case, I'm just like, No. Like, well, you have to hear my facts. I'm like, nope. And
yeah, really don't. The HIPAA cases are even, in my opinion, they're worse than RICO. Everybody's like, but that's HIPAA. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. It's,
you know, one of my favorite. Do you follow 3 Year Letterman?
Nope.
Oh, dude, this guy is hilarious. Coach, he has this shtick where he's a high school football coach that that's also a licensed notary public, and he makes jokes about how he never had to finance his waterbed. And he always accuses these public figures of HIPAA violations. And then they respond and they're like, what are you talking about, you idiot? And then all of his followers gang up on them, including me, saying, I don't think you understand. He's a notary public. He actually makes the laws. Once in a while, a reporter will stumble into it and go, what the fuck did I just walk into? And they'll have a good sense of humor about it. But he's gotten, like, I think he's like nailed Marco Rubio before. Like, people will actually engage with him. Yeah, 3 Year Letterman. He's my favorite thing on Twitter.
I just went and followed him. I'll watch these antics and I'll rate your ability to discern comedy.
Yeah, Coach. He's the best. That's why I'm wearing my Gators shirt out of honor for 3 Year Letterman.
Make him proud.
Anytime he's in an argument with you, he'll be like, you never lettered in shit.
What did you letter in?
Let's see, recreational horticulture and female anatomy.
I lettered in speech. I'd forgotten, but I lettered in speech. So,
like, for real?
Yeah, for real. Like, I only did speech my senior year, but I did letter in it, and so I got. I was like, holy shit, that means I have one of those fucking jackets sitting around. I haven't seen that thing in like 20 years.
Was that in high school or college?
High school.
Okay, yeah. No, high school, I was just stoned all the time. Like, I never understood people who wanted to skip school. I'm like, why would I want to skip school? That's where the drugs are. I would like literally go to school. I'd like get high and read Jean Paul Sartre and friggin', try to speak German and French. I mean, like, it was a beautiful day every day. I mean,
if you had a guitar and I was a woman, I would understand this speech, but like,
doing it, college, same thing, man. It's amazing. I don't even drink or smoke or anything now, but
me either.
It was a good run.
Mine was too. I burned fast and hard.
Phosphorus, man.
It's so weird. It's weird going from drinking to not drinking, though, because it's like for me, being without the alcohol isn't the problem. It's like all of the stuff that I did while drinking, being without all that, and now I'm like, well, now I'm bored. Like, now what am I supposed to do at night? Type thing. I don't want to go to the gym at night.
All I do now is work out, fucking run. But I quit for different reasons. I quit after cancer because I was just like so fucked up on fentanyl and codeine and every other opiate. I was like a walking. What is that family that sold the opiates? Whatever. I was on so fucking so much Vicodin, and I had these fentanyl patches. My back was like a fucking turtle covered in the damn things. And then just one day I wanted to know what the real world looked like.
Sure.
And then I was like, this place is cool. The real world is kind of neat.
My experience was different because I never did any opiates, right? I did stimulants and psychedelics. And so now it's like, oh, the real world, like the colors are just not as bright as I remember.
I'm not in the stamina to do so much of that. I mean, I've done my share of, LSD and shrooms and shit like that. But man, it was always like once every 6 months thing for me. I needed time to let everything get back into place.
Honestly, like that healthy use of them, that's what you should do, because you should allow the serotonin to replenish in your brain before you do it again. Because that actually maximizes the effect and reduces the chance of like long-term harm. But the problem is like they you kind of like them a lot, and so then you just you ignore that advice right away.
Yeah.
A lot of people
every Monday morning after you did ecstasy all weekend, you know, kind of resets you. But
yeah. I only actually had a couple of the MDMA hangovers, like 2, but I got so good at using it, I just never had a hangover from it ever. I never had that depressive next day. I was good. It was wild.
I did. I knew what it was causing it, but yeah, but I tell you, I smoked weed like every day for like 40 years. They should have given me a retirement party. And then I did, like, I don't even want it. Like, seriously, you could put like I mean, the only conditions under which I could ever see myself smoking weed again would be like, I mean, if Snoop Dogg came in here and was like, you want to smoke a blunt, right? Like,
you got to smoke Snoop.
Or like Willie Nelson, I guess Willie Nelson or Snoop Dogg. And when they die, forget it. There's no new, like, you know, even if like the guys from Super Troopers wanted to get high, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. So
no, I agree. There's like there are these weird generational things that occur, and like there was this generational weed is like the coolest thing that happened.
Gay now, they ruined it. Legalization fucked it up. Because remember, you'd go to a wedding or something, and or an event, or some fundraiser, and you could just like, you'd look around and be like, who around here gets high? And you could pick out the guy, and then you'd be like, you go outside, fucking get high, come back in.
Yeah.
I was at a fundraiser for
I was that guy for a while.
I was like president of this organization, and they were doing a fundraiser, and I had to go to it. And I didn't fucking want to be there. And I'm sitting in this casino with my vape pen, and I'm just like hitting the hell out of this thing, and I'm high as shit. And the other people are like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do this. And I'm like, I told you I didn't want to come. Like, you made me come, so I'm going to sit here and tranquilize myself.
This is your fault, really.
But this donor next to me is like, hey, can I hit that? I'm like, sure. And he hits it. He's like, dude, you're awesome. He strokes a check for 25 grand, which was like, the target for the evening was like $5,000. He turns over a check for 25 grand. And I'm like, that's how you fundraise, motherfucker.
Exactly.
I mean, I'd love to say that it was a plan. It really wasn't. But
no,
I mean, I love not being fucking wasted. I really do. Like, I get up in the morning. I hiked a mountain the other day just for the fucking fun of it. I'm like winning bodybuilding competitions now. You know, I'm not
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that I said about cocaine is cocaine makes you feel like you can do everything, but you don't do anything.
I never liked cocaine. It always bored me. You know, when I went in for cancer treatment, when I first started, the doctors were asking me questions about like everything I had done. And they're like, any drug use? I'm like, yeah. They're asking every drug
you got, buddy.
And then they get down to cocaine, and the nurse says, cocaine? And I'm like, you know, only to be polite. What? And I said, yeah, man, like, I only do it like, you know, when I have to, like for manners. She's like, you know, you don't have to, right? Like I'm some shrinking violet. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like one of the last times I did cocaine, it must have been like, God, years and years ago. I was in Miami. I go to this bar in my hotel, and everyone there is acting like Miami fucking douchebags to this bar. Yeah. So I have one drink. I tip the bartender $50. And the bartender's like, what's this for? I'm like, everybody's being such an asshole to you, man. Maybe I can be part of you having a better night. And I just fucking walk out the door, go out to have my one more drink before I go to bed, because I got a big fucking meeting in the morning. I come back in, and this bartender has all these girls at the bar, and he goes, you get over here, like brings me over. He's talking about what a great guy I am. He's laying out shots. I'm like 8 drinks in. I'm like, oh no. And he says, hey, I'm going to get you into a party.
All right.
All right. So we walk down and we walk up these stairs, and he reaches behind his back and he hands me a bag of cocaine. and I take the bag, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want any cocaine. I'm like, you know what?
Not for you.
I'll go into the party and I'll give it away to someone, and I'll make their night. And we walk through the door, and we're in a bathroom, and I'm like, oh, party. Fuck. Now this guy is gonna think, if I come up there and I'm like, I don't want any cocaine, he's gonna think like I came up there to suck his dick or something, right? So
Yep.
I'm like, well, I either need to suck this guy's dick or I need to do this cocaine.
Nose
like,
or mouth.
I'll do the cocaine. Now, next thing I know, it's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm just like, oh no, I got to go to bed. So I take a 2-hour shower, and I show up to the meeting, and a guy who's like a mentor of mine just looks at me and he goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm so not proud of myself.
I just want the chat to remember that there's a nurse listening to this. The original story. This is you having to explain what being polite about cocaine is.
Right. And then this mentor of mine, he goes, listen, all right, I'm going to reset this meeting for tomorrow. He goes, what do you need now? And I'm like, I need something for my head. He goes, okay. Picks up the phone in this office building in Miami. He dials less than 7 numbers. He dials 5 numbers.
Okay.
And I remember, and he goes, yeah, Vicodin. Yeah, click. 5 minutes later, a guy walks in with a paper sandwich bag full of Vicodin. And he hands it to me. And he goes, now go to your hotel and go to bed and don't eat all those or you'll die. The next morning,
you asshole.
I'm like, why don't you just give me less, But yeah, so that was, those are like, all my cocaine stories are like that. Like I accidentally did it.
Sure. Whoops. Oh my goodness. This is not why I brought you on, but it's so funny.
Randazza's cocaine tales. Yeah.
I should ask you about that article that Woolman posted.
What did fucking Woolman post?
It was an old article you wrote that involved your prediction.
The melon fucking
Contemplating honeydews.
Dude, did I see the future or what?
That was amazing. When did you write that? I mean, it had to be forever ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it was about a guy got arrested in Texas. So the guy was fucking a dog.
Right.
And
which was not illegal in Texas at the time. That was perfectly fine. You could fuck a dog.
Right. Which is fucked up. I mean, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So don't fuck dogs. But the guy fucks a dog and he films it. And then they wanted to bust him for filming it. And my argument is, look, if it's legal to do it, it ought to be legal to film it.
Can you imagine? No. It was fine that you're dick deep in a Doberman, but the problem is that you put it to film, and that's just disgusting.
I never like, the number of people you pass every day. Like when I'm in New York City, you go for a walk around the block. You've literally just encircled 250,000 people.
Right. Yeah.
Statistically speaking, there's got to be a dog fucker in that group, right? Everybody walks past somebody who does animals every day. They walk among us, and I just wonder, how the fuck does that ever even occur to somebody?
I can't imagine it because it's like this is back in 2017, which. I actually I
talked the dog into it. Why does the dog bite him?
Look, the dog liked it.
Dog can't.
What kind of dog was it? Do you remember?
It didn't. I don't remember it saying. And I don't know. Maybe it was like
it was a cop too. Like
yeah, it was a cop. I mean, not that it would make it better if it wasn't a cop, but it's fucked up that it was a cop. Yeah.
I wonder if it was a canine unit.
It wasn't a canine unit animal, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know. It'd be kind of weird, like if you imagine, like it was a Doberman, not a Doberman, a Dachshund or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wiener dog. This one's just fun though, because it happens.
The Queen had, what are the ones with the short legs?
Corgis.
A corgi.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. The whole bestiality. That's bestiality is weird. Like,
and then movies about it, like, the guy made, but it really, you know, when the whole point of that article though was that, you know, where if you're just getting arrested because the government doesn't like your movie, well, that's not what freedom is.
Right. And that's the weird
thing.
Guy
ought to be put in jail and set on fire for fucking a dog.
Yeah.
But why didn't you guys think to make that illegal? I mean, I guess it's like you have to have a certain level of problems before you make a law. But you'd hope you don't make laws.
You gotta figure animal fucking with the amount of ranches in Texas that animal fucking had to be a problem somewhere. Like if this had to happen, it's not like he's the first guy. I was like, you know what?
I guess, you know, it just doesn't. I guess if, you know, you show up at the legislature, you're like, all right, what laws do we need today? We don't want to go, hey, you know, there's a little too much animal fucking going on. It'd be like, well, how would you know, Cletus? You know, well, here in Cletus T. Peckerwood County, we certainly do have kind of a problem with it. You know, I don't know, maybe just nobody wants to bring it up.
Yeah, it's a weird subject. But
we're talking about it.
So find it. Holy shit. This is on Pope Hat.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
You wrote an article for Ken?
Oh, I used to be on Pope Hat all the time. Ken used to like me. He doesn't like me anymore.
He never liked me, so it's okay. That guy kind of I liked him for a while. He took a hard left though. Like, and I don't mean politically. I mean he just took a hard left, like into insanity.
Got a little weird. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. I don't decide how much I like somebody by how much they like me. So Ken doesn't really like me, but I still like him. I just thought I used to read Pope Hat from time to time. I liked, of course, I noticed you said it's never RICO. That's a big Ken Whiteism. I always liked him, and then all of a sudden, like he went kind of nuts, and I think it was related to Trump. Like that, Trump just like his existence broke a lot of people, and right and left. Like it didn't just break people on the liberal side of the equation, but he just, it's like he was such an advocate for speech, and then suddenly some speech wasn't okay, and that was my main thing with him. Like personally, I don't know him. I don't really care. I think he called me a terrible person once, which is right. A lot of people started to like bend. I was just talking with a new hire the other day about like when the speech crest started to turn. And, it was really Charlie Hebdo. I felt like it was when it really started. Remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
This satirical magazine, it was French, so it's not really funny, but the French think Jerry Lewis is hilarious.
But they did this, right? Like they did this thing.
Yeah, they did cartoons to make fun of Muhammad, and some Muslims decided to go shoot up the headquarters of the place. And I remember back then I wrote a law blog, and I wanted to write something strongly condemning it. It's like we didn't know the extent to how far this was going to go. But I actually asked everybody at my law firm, I said, look, before I start publishing anything about this, I'm going to leave the office and I want everybody to caucus, and I don't want to know who the dissenter is. But if we start writing shit about this, I don't know if it's going to turn into something violent coming our way. So every single person here agrees that it's okay, then I'm going to do it. But I forbid you from telling me who the dissenter or dissenters are, if there is one. And like 5 minutes later, my partner calls me back and says, everybody wants you to do it. I was really fucking proud of them all at that moment. As it turns out, it didn't take a lot of courage at all because nothing fucking happened. But
that was the weird thing about Charlie Hebdo is like, why this one? Like, why does this satirical magazine merit the fatwa or whatever? Like, because there's a lot of people who mocked Muhammad.
Was the people who were saying, what did you expect? When you have a marginalized minority that you make fun of them, of course, eventually. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, like you don't get to just shoot somebody because you're insulted. And that's when it all started to break. And then by 2016, free speech had completely fucking fractured again. I mean, it was
and it's
fucked.
It's in a weird place now because it feels like it's kind of coming back, like it's back in vogue, and a lot of the like major, for lack of a better word, woke movements around women, transgenders, LGBTQ issues in general. Like a lot of those, they were these like, and then of course race has always been a strong one, but they were these sort of power coalitions that drove, they drove policy and they drove public opinion on speech and what was appropriate to say in public for what, like 8, 9, 10 years really heavily. And then it's like turned off. Like, where is Me Too? Where is Black Lives Matter? Where are the LGBT groups, LGBTQ groups and the pro-trans groups? Like, they're losing their foothold in.
You can only get so far with a movement based on scolding. It's always, and it's never really been about the justice underneath it. It's more about controlling other people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm as annoyed by the all the anti-Semitic shit on Twitter now. I mean, I am often accused of being an agent of Israelis or the Jews because I'm so.
I was so surprised that you were Italian, honestly.
Yeah, well, fair enough, but I mean, I fucking love the Jews, man. I got no beef with them at all.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I don't like hearing these people that deny the Holocaust and shit like that. But you know what? My views are strong enough they can stand in opposition to that. It doesn't rock my world every time I see it. It gives me an opportunity to tell them to go fuck themselves, but I'd never ban them.
Right.
Go ahead, say what you want to say.
And that's the thing that people seem to have missed. And I want to use that to ask you a question, though. Is there a point where speech is quote unquote inappropriate? What does that look like? Is it always, like, to me, the inappropriateness comes at, I think, almost exclusively at the interpersonal level. I mean, there is a way to defame someone, right? There is a way to cause serious harm to people with false words. And then, of course, you have things like true threats, where you can put people in apprehension of their own safety. Like, those things, I think there's an interest in regulating. But outside of that, like, is there some sort of interest in trying to curb racism or something like that, in your opinion?
Yeah, but I mean, you do it with societal pressure. I mean, it's okay for everybody to go, whoa, not cool, man, if you say something in a certain context. But I don't want the government involved in that. I don't want, and by that I even mean like the private court system. I don't want it involved in that. There's as an example right now, there's this movement in California where they're saying that student groups, for example, cannot participate in boycotting Israel. Now,
which is crazy. Like, why not?
I go out of my way to patronize Israeli businesses and to buy shit from Israel. I mean, literally, that's where I had dinner tonight, a little Israeli joint. I go out of my way for it. I'm an anti-BDS Italian.
Sure. But
I will be damned if the government's going to tell my next door neighbor that they can't participate in boycotting any fucking country. Because if I can't boycott Israel, well, then why not North Korea?
How do you ban a boycott? It's like, go buy that Jewish shit now. What do you even do?
Well, the groups will sign a pledge that they won't Israeli groups or anything like that. And that's just bullshit. We ought to be free to be bigots. What's wrong with that? I mean, tribalism is okay as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it doesn't work for me, but it's all right. What's wrong with it?
This is the thing that has confused me so much about, like, some of our country's laws and some of the laws that people want. And of course, I always bring things back to me because it's easiest to self-relate and try and understand the world. And so in my case, which involved, the charge was possession of cocaine, right? Which is a weird concept to me. So it's illegal to possess something. It's not illegal to do it. It's not illegal to be under the influence of it unless you're like driving or something like that. But it's illegal to have it. So the crazy thing is, it is then more beneficial to do the drugs, to do more of the drugs and have less of them. Because if you don't have any when the police show up, you're fine. That's a wildly...
You could also get rid of them by flushing them down the toilet. You don't have
right, but I mean, like, the concept is consuming the thing is actually more legal than owning it, and that's weirdly anti-American. Like in my, like, just as a concept, don't own this thing. And so you go, okay, wait, like, it doesn't make sense if the premise is owning this is bad because using this is bad. You're criminalizing the ownership and not the use. And actually, you're encouraging the use because you want to have less stock on hand.
Singapore does it differently. Singapore, you can't be on it.
Right.
Like Singaporeans, when they go to other countries, they'll get tested. When the government will say, we're going to blood test you to see if you were doing drugs while you were gone. You ever been to Singapore?
No. I have not been to the East.
Do not fuck around with drugs in Singapore, man.
No, don't fuck around with anything in Singapore. Like, don't watch South Park in Singapore.
I was in a bar, and so I went to go watch some court proceedings there. Friend of mine's a lawyer, and he brought me, and there was a guy who had a big knife underneath a pile of laundry and underneath a spare tire, and he drives some other guy home from work. They pull him over, they search the whole car, they find the knife, and they both get charged. And the first guy says, Your Honor, it was mine. I'm sorry. I take full responsibility for it. And the judge says, great. I respect your candor and your honesty and your integrity. 12 years, 20 lashes.
It's unreal.
Now they take the passenger, and the passenger says, look, as he said, it wasn't mine. He took full responsibility. And the judge said, well, you'll have 12 years and 20 lashes to think about how to choose your friends better when you get out of jail. It was the same fucking punishment. And then people were going to jail. I watched people get sentenced all day long just for being near people who had drugs.
Yeah.
And I go into this bar and I'm talking to this girl, and this girl is just an absolute fucking smoke show. And she asks me if I like ecstasy. And I'm about to be like, fuck, I like ecstasy. And I, in a rare display of good judgment, I just slapped $100 bill down on the bar, paid my bill, and just walked the fuck out without saying a word. Because
adios.
Yeah, that could have got me thrown. Like, you know, you just don't fuck around. But I don't know how the fuck we got to Singapore. But the possession versus use issue is just, I don't know. It was kind of liberating in college when you learned that, when you were like, you could just tell a cop on campus, yeah, I'm on acid right now. What are you going to do about it? I don't have any. I ate it all.
Yeah. And that to me, that's a strange concept. And I think I actually have a purpose and point in all this, but I think it shows the lunacy of the laws and kind of the slapdash structure and the reactionary structure of the lawmaking process that occurred. Is like, these are not addressing the issues that they wanted to address. These laws don't do that. And so then we say, okay, these laws are illogical. And that means that their purpose probably was alternative. And I think we see the same things in speech and in the attempts to censor speech on large scales. It's they're trying to solve problems by attacking some sort of symptom. Like they're not actually attacking the root issue. It's like if you have an issue with racism, for example, the proper thing to do is not try and punish the racists. The proper thing to do is not in the way that they've done it, but something akin to DEI, but basically public programming to I guess promote, to promote it. But you can't similarly punish people, and you can't use like a reverse racism approach. It can't be that. It has to
make people less racist. Look,
right. Usually more racist.
It is completely legal for people to deny the Holocaust in this country. It is completely legal for people to be anti-Semitic in this country. It's completely legal to walk down the street in your very own SS uniform waving a swastika flag. That is 100% illegal in Europe.
Right.
There is way fucking more anti-Semitism in Europe than there is here. I mean, here, yeah, there's some anti-Semitism, but I would say in general, this is not an anti-Semitic country. In Europe,
don't tell Ben Shapiro.
I'll be sitting around very educated left-wing people, people who in the United States would lecture the fuck out of me if I said anything like that, and they'll just be like, "Oh, well, at least there's no Jews here," and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" It is so deeply, and Europe is so deeply anti-Semitic, despite the fact that that's illegal. So obviously, their cure doesn't help the problem, if you call it a problem.
Right.
Personally, I don't know that it's a problem, but if it's a problem, you confront it with education. It's like most things that I hear people say negative about Jews, I think come from the fact they don't know Jews. I hang out with lots of Jews, like here in Vegas, most of my friends are from one synagogue. I get tons of Israeli friends here that
sure
they run the gamut.
I don't I hang out with anybody and everybody. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about anybody's background or ethnicity or whatever. Like, do you make me laugh is the main thing. Like if I'm laughing and hanging out, like we're good. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And that's my whole thing. But the thing that baffles me about this is, when did it become vogue to, through government, control the lives of adults, like the decision making of adults? It's like you say, well, these substances have negative consequences, so we don't want people to do them. It's like, why do you not get to choose negative consequences for yourself? Like when did that happen? And it's the same thing with speech. Really is.
I mean, it's been that way for a long time. I mean, frankly, but we always had also other structures, right? There was a time when you'd be ostracized by your church, and most of us don't go to church anymore. And if we do, they're so fucking desperate to keep us in the pews that they're not about to yell at you for much of anything. So that control wasn't there. But also, as the government grows, look, this is why I'm a libertarian and an unorthodox one. But every single asshole that winds up drawing a government paycheck, they just proliferate. I mean, how often do you ever see a government agency say, "Well, we're powerful enough. We don't really need more budget. We don't need more people.
We're going to downsize,"
right?
Yeah.
The drug war was really a political war. I mean, Nixon
Absolutely.
Figured out that it was mostly Democrats at the time doing drugs. So he's like, well, we can just bust them, and it's like a proxy for people that I hate anyway. But the problem is, everybody, once you see these, every tool that you see the government get into its hand, every weapon it gets, it's going to get turned back around on you. Now, just as many Republicans smoke weed as Democrats.
Yeah, and that's been such a strange change with the legalization of marijuana. And like you said, they've made it uncool now. It's like
they fucking ruined it. Because it used to be, maybe that's probably part of why. Well, it's not part of why I quit. I mean, I guess maybe now that I've quit, it's easier to say it's not cool. But yeah, man, you had like your little network. You had to fucking trust that person, right? There was like this inherent little bubble of trust among the potheads. And now you just go to a store and you fucking buy it at the store. I liked going to see the guy.
Dude, hey, my dealer was super cool, so like I get it.
You go over to the guy's house because you had to know a guy that knew the guy, especially if you were visiting from out of town. You'd have to go fucking play video games for a little bit or watch some fucking cartoon that he was going to turn you on to. I mean, it could turn into like a 3-hour endeavor. And then he wants to get you high, and I hated driving high, so I'd have to like get high, and then we'd order a pizza. That errand of going to buy weed was all day. Now you can go 10 minutes and go buy fucking weed.
Dude, one of the last times One of the last times I resupplied, I sat and watched The Critic with my guy forever. We're just sitting there watching The Critic for hours. It was great.
But the shows that your dealer would be into, you know? I used to buy, it's funny. I was just in Turin, Italy, where I teach every year. And I've been going back since like 2012. And so I got a hash dealer there. And he sells hash in the street in San Salvario neighborhood. And I actually, for the past 2 years, I've looked him up and like just gone and had a coffee with him. And he's like, "You need anything?" I'm like, "No, man, I quit." He goes, "Why you call me?" I'm like, "Dude, we've had a relationship for like over 10 years. I see you every time I come to town." I'm like, "I'm not just gonna not fucking want to see you just because I don't want to buy any hash from you." He was like, "Man, that is the nicest shit ever. Like, you're the only guy I ever knew quit smoking hash and still calls me."
I just want to hang out with you and look into your eyes.
Espresso and say hi, and just take off. And I still, I give him referrals. So,
I know you're on a limited time, so I want to. We've strayed away from the Monty suit, and sorry, that's ADHD.
Well, he won. He won. He vanquished us. He destroyed us.
He did. He did. And
speaking of hashish,
one of the things that I'm going to do when you're gone from the stream, and for no reason other than time and in the interest of that, is we had produced a demand for the first part of production, which is interrogatories, and so it's a list of questions. And those questions, you have to answer them. You can, of course, levy objections to them as well. And then that's part of discovery. And you get to ask. There's a rule on it. It's like 50 interrogatories, I think, something like that.
Minnesota gives you a lot more than usual.
Right. And so you can ask up to 50 questions, and the other side basically has to answer them. And if they don't, they can object and try to not answer, but eventually you can file a motion to compel them to answer and to comply with discovery, etc. So I'm going to go through the document that we had sent over to them, and people can kind of make their own judgments. These are the questions.
Yes, as your attorney, do not speculate on what the answers would be.
Right. And I've literally no idea. I mean, you may ask a question or draft a question with the intention of, or, some sort of notion of what the answer will be. And you hope that they'll answer in that way, because then that plays into your theory, the case, and the strategy you have. And I actually do think that our responses to their discovery may have played into the fact that they'd mischosen their strategy from the start. They seemed to misunderstand what was happening. What happened was I levied a whole bunch of insults at Montegraph at one point, like because I thought he just deserved to be insulted. He was being a dick, and I reciprocated with a bunch of insults based on things that I knew about him and had read about him.
I love his little comics of people as eggs that he's doing.
I don't get it. Like, I don't understand the egg thing, but he does that. He also says I'm part of the sweaty sausage squad.
Well, that you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I'm Polish. Like, of course I am.
So it's sweaty sausage squad. Yeah, I never understood what that meant.
What really gets me about his insults is he makes those things. He's like, "Yeah, this is fucking good." Like, him right here, and you look at him and you're like, "What child made this?"
Damn it, sweaty sausage squad! He didn't use that on me, did he?
No, but it's like
Montegraph.
He looked at that and he's like, "Yes, this is it right here." And he sends that out, and he's like, "See this world? I'm creative." Oh my God, I love it. But I like I said, when you first get their production requests and interrogatories come in, you go, okay, this is what they think is going on, and they might be right or they might be wrong. In our case, I think they were really wrong, and I think when they got answers. I can only speculate on what happened behind the scenes when they shifted lawyers. But I think David Schneider started to see that this case was a loser that was going to drag out forever. It was going to cost him a ton of money. I think he ate shit on his bill. And
well, the funniest part about his involvement was that we were going to take his deposition.
Yeah.
Because, that they teach you in law school that, one of the claims was intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is just fucking stupid. Right?
That's a hard claim.
Every fucking time I see a bullshit defamation claim, some nitwit decides they're also going to sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Well, in law school, in this Brown torts book that most people get, it has they explain to you that, well, it's conduct that would make somebody that would be utterly outrageous. The kind of conduct that would make someone overtly exclaim, outrageous. Everybody in class laughs.
Right.
And they put in a declaration, a sworn statement, that when he saw your statements, he spontaneously erupted with the word outrageous. And so did his wife. And so did all of his associates.
His entire staff.
And I just couldn't wait to depose his wife and be like, did you really say that? Because, look, either she was going to say no, I don't remember, or yes. And even if she said yes, it wasn't going to be credible. But
right.
you don't make yourself into a fucking witness with something that looked pretty damn fabricated to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I have a hard time.
Said what? I mean, I could see someone watching your stream and going, "What the fuck?" But nobody's going to go outrageous.
That's
all you have to say.
Yeah, that was extremely odd, and it's like one of those things where you snap and the person in front of you gets hit by lightning, and then you do it again and again and again. Everybody's getting struck by lightning. It's like no way to 5, 6, 7, 8 people exclaim this. Like
exactly what the torts textbook says that they should exclaim. Yeah, come on.
So that was really weird, but I think he started to maybe see that the case was sinking, and then. It's really interesting because then Montegraph brings on a new lawyer, Matt Harden. I mean, Matt Harden, right? Matt.
Yeah, he seems like enough guy. I mean, Davidson.
I actually like him.
Yeah,
I
mean, get along with a lot of people. I got along with both of them.
I like him just fine. I referred Josh to Harden like years ago on recommendation from a friend. And so it's kind of funny because now like Harden ended up in the Monograph case, and Harden is the one who's driving the effort to secure my body cam footage from my criminal case, which is like the weirdest. This is the weirdest case ever because there is they have no legal claim under Minnesota law. They're entirely relying on the fact that that these two body cam I guess their whole videos, these two body cam videos that are about 2 hours each, were entered erroneously by the court admin as accepted evidence, even though they were never offered, nor were they accepted by the court. And so they were entered as accepted evidence. So then the county allowed people to view them. A judge came in and corrected it, and now they're suing the county to say that the judge was not allowed to correct it, and that those have to be public. And that their theory of the case is that a court admin messed up. So therefore, the privacy interests of me, my children, my wife, those don't matter anymore.
I mean, to be honest, that's not a retarded theory. I mean, I've made similar arguments in other cases. I mean,
maybe you're the retard, Mark.
aren't the retards just the friends we make along the way? Maybe the true retard.
No, it's but the Minnesota.
I always take a very expansive view of what the court should have to disclose. So
right,
I haven't looked at your case. I haven't looked at Minnesota law, so I don't want to say anything that could prejudice that because I'm not working on it.
No, and the so the interesting thing about it in other states, it would actually it would be much more likely. Like in Florida, you're toast, right? Like Florida, it's called the Sunshine State for a reason.
Pretty much,
But in Minnesota has actually very much protects body cam footage unless it involves an officer discharging a weapon or someone dying or something like that. Then of course
sense that why should it be entered into I could argue.
Whoa, where'd he go? He could argue, no, you can't. Get wrecked by the internet, Mark. I don't know what happened. That was he just got kicked out of the studio. He said he was here, which was a lie. Filthy, disgusting lie. But hopefully he'll come back. Okay, here we go. Here he is. All right.
All of a sudden, Mossad came through the door.
I know you say you like the Jews. I know you say you like them, but you don't like them enough. You don't like them enough.
Guy with a body cam. The guy was screaming, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?" That was a weird fucking 45 seconds there, man.
But the thing,
I could argue both sides of that case all day long. I mean, on one level, everything shouldn't be a public record because the police made it. It's unproven allegations, blah blah blah. But then somebody just said the retainer ran out and he cut you off.
That's funny.
Well played, Bob.
It's so true. So in the Minnesota law in regards to body cam footage is very clear. The only time it becomes public is either with the consent of the party, a party depicted in the footage, and the party can't be one of the public officials. It has to be, it has to be a private person, and then if it is entered as evidence into a case. Once it's evidence, then it's of course available to the public.
I mean, that's the argument I make in all of my cases is once a court makes a decision based on it, now that has to be revealed to the public.
And if that had happened, that was something I contemplated when we contemplated using this body cam footage was, okay, if you use this in court, then of course it will become public. But we uploaded it into the system in preparation for a hearing, but we actually disposed of the matter that was, there were 3 issues for the hearing, and that was the 3rd issue, but we disposed of that issue without any evidentiary hearing occurring. We had agreement with the county prosecutor. And so that, they were uploaded into the system, but they were never presented to the court.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to comment on any of this because first of all, I'm not your lawyer on it. And second, if I say one thing that could help the other side on it, I don't want to see them saying, well, even his own lawyer in this case says that's fair. Nick, I think all that footage should be public and it should be on a billboard.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who do. There's a lot of people who think that, and in some states it's true. In Minnesota, it isn't. And so, like, the argument isn't, depending on where you are, wouldn't be the worst argument. In this case, I really don't think they're on solid legal footing. But my position is, I have my thoughts on it, but it'll be up to the district court and then maybe the appeals court.
I just don't know why anybody wants it. That's the thing. It's like, at some point,
they want to see how true everything is, right? Like that they read or that they read or that they have created. It's
so much fun to watch somebody's fucking shittiest day. I don't know. It's difficult to me.
I'm barely in it. I'm only in it for like 10, 15 minutes. And then, they haul me off right away.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like,
I just find the whole phenomenon of how people get whipped into a frenzy online, whether it's this or the monograph shit or anything else like that. The way people can just lose themselves in the soap opera of internet bullshit is just really surprising to me. Like, man, go touch some grass or sand if you're out in the desert.
Yeah, it's people get very invested in the lives of
Barracuda. People are too point and laughy today. Yeah, I'll sign up with that.
There is a difference though. There's an overwhelming majority of people who are point and laughy. And that I actually am perfectly fine with like point and laughy sort of activities. But then there is a subset of people who kind of meld into those crowds that go well beyond pointing and laughing, and they do attempt to really do damage to people through all sorts of different actions that would surprise you with their creativity and how they do it. And it's like, okay, like I get that I like maybe pissed you off or disappointed you or whatever, but like this is a lot.
It pissed me off.
I pissed you off
in the past.
How did I do that?
Can you call Jay a faggot? You remember how we met?
Well, maybe you shouldn't have been being a faggot. Did you think about that one?
No, it didn't occur to me.
I did send you a thing, and I was like, wait, is he actually like? I don't know if he's a gay or not, but if he is, I would actually apologize because I didn't.
You know what? Then that was the end of it. Okay. Yeah. I discharged my anger quickly, and then that was it. It's like
it also set up my favorite.
You jerk off, and then you're fucking ready to be calm.
It also set up my favorite moment on Twitter ever. I had said I tweeted to you that I taught you the alphabet, and then I put F, A, and then blank, 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 blank. And then Woolman comes out of nowhere. He hasn't tweeted to me in like 4 years. And he just comes out of nowhere. He goes, yeah, I was there. And I was like, oh, shit.
Woolman's got a good sense of humor. Woolman's a funny motherfucker, actually.
Yeah. I wish I would have met him under different circumstances. Now I have to hate him forever, but it was funny.
He likes you. He got over it quicker.
Yeah, you have to in your line of work, right? Like, because you represent people who say truly awful things, like truly atrocious things, and you get shit on so much for it that I laugh all the time. I'm like, don't you realize that you have to have this guy? Like, you have to have the guy.
What's funny is people sometimes, they seem to think when you're a free speech lawyer that you're defending someone's right to speak, that you're somehow adopting what they have to say. And meanwhile, on the same day, I'll be defending people who have completely opposite speech.
Right.
Like
you're defending the concept, not the words themselves. The words are irrelevant. That's the most important part, is what they said is irrelevant and should be legally irrelevant. The government shouldn't be involved in it.
I recently took on a kid who was one of these fucking globalize the intifada fuck faces, and he was in trouble for it, and he of course, and I'm on the phone with him. I said, look, I fucking hate your shit. I think you're an idiot. I think anybody who wears one of those keffiyeh things is a dumbass.
I'm getting PTSD from our conversation.
You have a whole fucking closet full of them. I said, but I also think you're legally right. You should have been able to do what you were doing. I can't get into too many details because we resolved it, but and the kid's like, are you saying you won't defend me? And I'm like, no, I'll defend you. I mean, in fact, I even did it for free. I said,
wait a minute.
It was a referral through an organization that I agreed to do a certain number of things for free to them. But I said, look, I'll even do it for free. But I said, the first thing you got to fucking do is go back and tell your comrades or whatever the fuck you guys call each other that Marc Randazza is going to be your lawyer, and go look up who the fuck else I defend, because I don't want to go bothering to put some time into this thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, marginalized people or whatever the fucking dumb shit of the day you're going to say is.
Right.
So he calls me back 3 days later. He goes, you're the guy. I said, all right, great. And it took a couple of days of work. We got his charges dropped and everything was fine. But I love defending people whose speech I hate. It feels better than when you defend somebody whose speech that actually makes you laugh. Like when your shit makes me laugh. I drink a little bit of your Kool-Aid because I actually like your content.
Well, I appreciate that. But no, it's the purity of the principle, right? And it's like, no, I'm putting my principle is real. And there's something to that, because it's easy to say, I have this belief, I have this thing. It's much harder to act it out when it comes down to acting it out, and it's inconvenient. Like, that's the other part of it. It's like, okay, no, I do have this principle. I do have this belief. I'm willing to work for this or deal with this part of it. And I'm willing to do it because this is the right thing. And then I guess to sell, it's a weird thing to like self-congratulate, but it is a check. And there's a lot of people out there who, you see every day in public, people betraying their principles. A lot of people say I did, and they're probably right on some of it. Like that's just how it goes. People are imperfect.
None of us are pure, man.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But when you are pure on the things that you really care about, like that, I think that's noble and that matters. And I can't think of anybody who is as enmeshed in speech and defending it as you. But who is? I'm
just not useful anywhere else in society.
Yeah, I know. You spent all your life stoned. What the hell?
This is what I do. Yeah, man. I mean, I decided a long time ago. I mean, when I first started doing this, it was funny. The young First Amendment lawyers, when I was first coming up, we would talk with the old guard guys about working in the 60s and 70s, defending journalism and protesters and real core political speech. And all that was fucking left for us was porn. And I'd always have to answer to reporters and stuff. They'd say like, well, why do you defend this smut? And I'd say, well, if you don't defend the dirty smut at the edges of the First Amendment, well, then the censors can get into the core of the political speech, the journalism, the actual activist speech that we all agree now is protected. And then all of a sudden, 2016, things flipped. And now nobody's fucking worried about porn getting censored anymore. No one bothers.
It's wild. I think
you can give porn to fucking elementary school kids as long as it's gay porn, but
that's true.
They're strong and brave.
It's instructional. They need to learn how to suck a penis properly. Come on.
I'm out there doing journalism cases and protester cases and public speech cases like it's the fucking 1960s or 1940s again. And that daydreaming about being able to do the real shit. I wish I hadn't wished for it, because it's scary when you see how the judiciary will go into contortions when they politically support a certain kind of censorship.
Yep.
When your client, I was simultaneously representing, I was representing one guy who was like a trans activist, and he was getting shit from the one municipality in New England that still had Republicans running it, and he was getting shit because he had said, you're going to tear these banners down, over my dead body. And they said, well, that's a violent threat. We're banning you from campus. But simultaneously, I had other people who didn't agree with that agenda. And when you watch these federal judges that'll just sit there and say, well, for whatever reason, they will make shit up. They will have such a lack of integrity because their political beliefs are challenged by your client's speech. Right. And it's gross. In a really inspiring case I had a case in Baltimore where I represented a hardcore right-wing Catholic organization. And they wanted to have a prayer rally in Baltimore. And Baltimore is essentially run by Antifa. And, the mayor's office didn't want it to happen. So they yanked their ability to rent this public pavilion. And the judge we pulled was an old school Democrat judge. And my client said, shit, Democrat appointee, there's no way we're going to win. I was like, man, I don't know. She was elderly, Jewish, from Brooklyn, like old school ACLU. I said, she's going to have integrity. And her name's Judge Hollander. And man, she was full of integrity on that thing and ruled for us, despite the fact that I could tell in every hearing she did not like my client. But it sucks that that's an inspiring story. That should just be how it happens. In that case, I was representing, actually, Milo Yiannopoulos was in that case. And I asked a bunch of other lawyers I knew. I said, "What do you think? Should I put Milo on the stand?" And they're like, "Fuck no, don't do it. You never know what's going to happen." And I called an audible at the hearing, just at the last minute. I'm like, "Fuck it." I put him on the stand. Didn't prepare at all. Just wild card Milo. I'm like, let's see what happens. And I tell you, it was the best move I'd ever made. I couldn't believe. I mean, he was just on, man. But at one point, I remember they asked him about some controversial and provocative things he had said, and Milo had toned himself down a little bit at the time.
Sure.
So on redirect, I asked him. I said, "So have you published anything like that lately?" He goes, "No, I've really kind of toned it down." I said, "So would it be fair to say that Milo's grown up?" And he said, "Counselor, I am tremendously offended at the notion and disgusted that you would say such a thing, but I cannot deny it." It was just brilliant. I'm like, no further questions. Like, you couldn't have written it that well for a movie script.
Yeah, but I mean, putting Milo on the stand it's a great move because Milo is just in front, like he's in front of people and he's comfortable there. And
it was the dumbest thing that I ever did, but it worked out really well. Like, he was brilliant. He was a brilliant witness, but everybody was like, "What were you thinking?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I wanted to see what the fuck would happen."
You needed to see what he would say because of course we do.
No, he was actually a great client. He was, he listened and was helpful. But other situations you're in, you'll just sit and look at a judge and think, what Constitution did you read, man? Like, what law school did you go to? How the fuck do you not know this stuff? It's so basic.
I think that like, it's just reading through pretty much any published opinion, you're like, really? Like, that's where you go if it's on a constitutional matter. You're like, even ones that I agree with. When you think of like DC versus what was it? The Scalia handgun decision.
I mean,
from 2008, right? He writes the first Second Amendment opinion that we've had since like 1934, first major one or whatever, since U.S. v. Miller.
You're talking about the Heller decision.
Heller, yes. I couldn't think of it. DC versus Heller. And Scalia writes it. And I liked Scalia, but you're reading it and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, you weird man?
Yeah.
Or there was a U.S. v. Jones, which was another Scalia decision. It was about putting GPS trackers on cars outside of a warrant. And Scalia writes it, and he writes basically a Fourth Amendment, essay, but he gets to the conclusion that it was the physical trespass of putting something on the car that was the violation of the Fourth Amendment, that became a seizure. And then it's like, but Scalia, isn't the problem that the government literally tracks every movement of this car? Like, that is the fundamental problem in US v. Jones for me. It's not the fact that they did it with a fucking air tag. The problem is that, like, and his reasoning is, well, if you see a car on a public street, like if you see it at an intersection, then they don't have a privacy interest in it. It's like, yeah, but if you follow that car to every place it goes the entire day, they do, you are violating their privacy, and now you're potentially stalking someone.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a Fourth Amendment guy. I'll just say, and I'm somewhat of a Second Amendment, but I'm not. I'll just say that when you have results-oriented decisions, sometimes they create really bad law.
Right.
When you have people who will, and look, I've clerked for judges in the past, and I've known judicial clerks, and everybody says that they don't do this, but they do this. They say, this is the decision I want. Find me the law that fits it. And once in a while, you run into a Judge Hollander who doesn't do that. In fact, she writes her own opinions, and man, she'll write like 80 pages where you only needed 20, but she really gets into it. And I wish I was in front of judges like her more. But ever since the filibuster got thrown out, the federal bench just winds up with a lot of these people that, when you had the filibuster, you had to have 60 senators that would say this guy's cool, this chick's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant that even if you had a 55 vote majority in the Senate, you had to get 5 people on the other side willing to meet with you, and you had to bridge that gap. You had to bridge that philosophical gap enough so you didn't wind up with crazy extremists. You didn't have these fucking goblins on the goddamn bench like you do now. And I mean people that I politically agree with and people I politically disagree with. I hate that I can look at who appointed the judge and predict within 95% accuracy how that judge is going to rule. That's just not how it's supposed to be.
Right. They're supposed to be apolitical, but they clearly are political monsters of the system's making, and the congressman's desire for their own political power to be expanded came with, look, we can replace the judges. And in doing so, they've put the system in jeopardy, and they made things like nationwide injunctions become a problem. Like that's a problem that's a product of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's fucked. I mean, what are there, like 700? I don't know how many. There's like 780 federal judges.
Yeah.
We couldn't possibly have been trying to design a country where you needed the unanimous consent of all 780 federal judges.
It's an insane proposition to say that an unelected, appointed for life federal judge at the lowest level of the federal court system has the ability to enjoin the president across an entire nation and across multiple fact scenarios that are only loosely related.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with an injunction, an injunction, but to a nationwide injunction, and if you don't get it in Massachusetts, then bring it in Rhode Island. And if you don't get it in Rhode Island, bring it in Connecticut. If you don't get it there, go over to Seattle. And eventually you'll get one out of your 700 and something judges that'll say, yes, I'm going to enjoin this. And then the entire system grinds to a halt.
That's what just happened on birthright citizenship. Like, regardless of where anyone stands on the issue, Supreme Court says, no, you can't do nationwide injunctions on birthright citizenship. Well, they had like 12 or 15 cases in different federal district courts. And so one of them just certified the class. Like, they certified the class that no one else, everybody else is like, we don't know if this can even be done. Like,
including unborn people, which I found weird.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? People who aren't born yet? That's going to cause a lot of fucking debate.
I have a whole property law argument about the rights of the unborn being actually older than our common laws, like older than most of our common law notions. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. The rights of the unborn were something that were part of the first property rights conferred because it involved future interests in the possession of property. And those future interests are present. Like, they're a present thing that exists for an entity that like is not in the world.
I don't want to drift into abortion.
No, yeah. I want to get back to speech, and I have one more major question for you. And then I guess I can release you if you have to go.
Yeah, I got an early flight, but yeah, go ahead.
On the porn topic and how porn intersects with speech is actually a really interesting topic for me.
Lotion. All right.
But do you think the proliferation, I guess, of OnlyFans has changed the public dialogue and the public perception on pornography in general as it relates to speech and the First Amendment and the ability to do it? I mean, they've democratized pornography, which is crazy.
I think most of the tube sites did that. That really all started with like Pornhub and X videos and just the ready availability of it. And I'm not sure about like whether I'm proud of this or not, but a lot of the work I did in the early part of my career where we were fighting for this complete wide open and robust atmosphere of of anything goes. And I'm not sure it was actually ultimately a good thing. The
hardest part of a free society is remembering that most of freedom isn't good.
Yeah, it just, I guess I always felt like there would be some guardrail, right? Like I kind of liked it better when, and maybe it's just because I'm getting old, but there should be some guardrails, right? And there aren't. Jeffrey gets caught jacking off on the fucking Zoom, and 2 weeks later, nobody gives a shit, right? Like,
that guy's a hero. Like, what is he doing?
Nobody's gonna want, nobody's gonna find. I mean, there used to be a thing where you'd have to make sure you got someone to clear your browser history if you die. And
right.
I bet nobody bothers with that anymore, because who gives a fuck? And I think it may be better when we were a little more judgmental.
When it's interesting to think that at some point, like every political candidate will have sent nudes at some point, like that will eventually be a thing. There will never be someone who's squeaky clean. Like the amount of effort that it will take to keep a kid growing up on the internet.
Yeah.
And then progressing into an adult on the internet by the time that they're 35 or whatever, to think that they won't have engaged in some sort of degenerate activity that's tracked somewhere. And it used to be,
my kid, your kids rebel against their parents.
Right.
My kids have completely fucking rebelled against me. And they're, and I've had this talk with them. I'm like, what I fucking do for a living, right? Like, my kids are terrified of any of this shit. But you're right. It is to the point where, as we become more and more like the movie Idiocracy, I don't know, maybe your OnlyFans might even be part of your political ad in the future, Get my economic platform and watch me jerk off into a bowl of pudding.
When there was that Texas, there's a chick running for like a Texas congressional seat, and she had this picture where she's like naked on top of an oil derrick or something, and it was like, that was bold in Texas to do. I think she was Republican.
I want a House of Representatives that is like 2/3 really uptight assholes, and then most of the other third be a smattering of freaks, and then like 2 absolute pirates.
Ted Kennedy.
Right? Yeah, just not even that. Like fucking just like Cicciolina in the parliament in Italy. She was a porn actress that got elected to parliament. In parliament at the same time as Mussolini's granddaughter. Who ran on the last Mussolini did a great job. Vote for me now. I want that kind, and then everybody else is various degrees of just, uptight asshole politicians. That's what I want. I don't want to see a House of Representatives that's like all fucking performative Jasmine Crockett's and AOC's and whatever.
Yeah, and that's how it kind of feels these days. But then like you see the person whose name you don't know, and you're like, oh no, there are just normal congressmen in there too. Right? Like that happens from time to time.
Yeah, but every one of them, just what do they spend their time doing? Whoring for contributions for the next election. That's what sucks about the Senate. The Senate wasn't supposed to be that way. Really, the worst fucking thing we ever did was pass the 17th Amendment, allowing direct election of senators.
Terrible.
Democracy is retarded.
Exactly.
I mean, really,
and it was the Senate was supposed to be a counterbalance against the, again, to represent the state's interests, not the state's people's interests. The state's people's interests are already represented in the House of Representatives. I also think limiting it to 500 or to 434 or whatever the number is, I think that was a mistake too. I think we should have more representatives. Personally,
I've thought about that, but
if you paid less.
Wind up with more, what we're going to wind up with more is like just another. I don't know. We'll probably wind up with like 100 more from Los Angeles and New York City, and not really looking for that to have more influence. I think it'd be better if I think instead of having geography, it ought to be organized around like stuff, right? Like clubs, like ideas.
Okay.
Like the porn industry ought to have a certain number of representatives.
Yes.
Right?
I like
the car industry gets
bondage delegation is in session.
Yeah, people who play fucking pickleball. I mean, it would just be better than, well, you happen to be my neighbor. Like, what the fuck sense does that make?
Yeah.
Everybody in the neighborhood is supposed to get together and decide who's going to go represent us. What the fuck? I don't even fucking know the guy next door. Well, I don't have anybody next door, but I know more about you than I know about the guy who lives downstairs from me.
But the interesting thing, of course, is that the original neighborhood was supposed to be limited to 30,000 people. Yeah. And now now the neighborhood is 790,000 people or whatever in California. The size of a congressional district it's almost 1 million people per congressman. And that's crazy. That's a crazy disparity between California and Wyoming. And what was that?
I mean, I trust the people in Wyoming much more than I trust the people in California.
I do too, and maybe there was wisdom in it, but I do find it interesting. Like the idea was that for every 30,000 people, there was supposed to be a representative, and we've completely skewed that. I'm not saying it would necessarily work to change it now. In the same way that I don't believe that 9 Supreme Court justices is kind of like in this one court was the idea for the Supreme Court. I almost think that the Supreme Court was like a superseding federal district or like that basically covered the entire nation, but would have courts located everywhere. And they could have done it that way, and we could have not had 9 people make these rulings, and they could have actually taken all of the cases that were under their jurisdiction rather than disregarding 90% of them. And we could have had a completely different system. And I think maybe that's kind of what was designed, but we ended up with this anyway because of someone's idea. Kind of like,
this is the best you can do, It's like
yeah, and it's
I mean, the systems that work better. I mean, look, if I were in charge of the country, well, first of all, the streets would run red with blood. I'd be a genocidal maniac. So don't ever vote for me. But I'd essentially like outsource the economy to Javier Milei. I'd send the military out and capture Javier Milei and bring him back and make him run the economy. I'd capture Bukele from El Salvador, make him run Homeland Security and the Department of Justice. And then I'd go get Giorgia Meloni from Italy and let her run everything else. And then I'd tell Trump just to run around calling everybody nasty names.
Yeah. You look like Rosie O'Donnell, and that is not a compliment. It's not a compliment at all.
I really did enjoy, back to the weed discussion, back during his first term, I was smoking a lot of bong hits. And I just remember I would just sit in front of the TV and just be like, that's the fucking president.
It's so funny.
Yes.
Like I don't even care what he does anymore. I'm just like, just do something. Like just do something because I'm gonna laugh at how you do it. And I think they fumbled the Epstein thing a lot.
Fumbled? Jesus Christ. They might as well have like taken a fucking hornet's nest and been like, what if I put my dick in this?
Right, which is what the one guy did with the dog, so I don't see the problem.
I mean, pick a lane. You're gonna tell me it's on your desk, and then you're gonna say, just kidding.
Epstein picked a lane, a jizz lane.
Do you know that? Yeah, she actually lived very close to me.
Oh,
like
really?
One of my houses. Yeah, she had a house about a mile from it, and a couple people. There was a little bit of a conspiracy theory starting, and I was like, man, I didn't fucking know she was there. Yeah, she's that whole situation. I am willing to believe that all of the evidence is gone and it was all destroyed. But then just tell me We
Someone
were
went and wiped Epstein's porno search history. That's what happened. They had all the files, and then like his bro came in and just hit delete on his hard drive. He's like, I said I'd do it. It took me a minute.
When my dad passed away a couple of years ago, I immediately went down into his computer room, and I'm like, got to delete his browser history. And I went and looked, and it was nothing that you'd be ashamed of your dad for looking at. I'm not going to get into what my dad's porn habits were. I was surprised, but not horrified. I was like, wow.
No, Dad.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, hey, man,
He's grown up.
And I went to delete it, and I started to cry. I couldn't bring myself to do it. It was like I was erasing a piece of my father's existence. So my dad's browser history is still there.
It's still there, preserved forever. Oh, it's adorable. That's the funniest porn history story I can think of. Like heartwarming.
Don't tell anybody I've got a heart, but that's how you discover it. If I can't bring myself to delete your browser history because I miss you so bad. I think I'm going to get to bed so I can make my flight in the morning.
Well, man, I appreciate it. You coming on and talking. I also appreciate all the discounts and opportunities to mitigate the impact of the bill, because this is a 2.5 year case, and you are not fucking cheap. You're way expensive.
I am.
They call you a whore, but
like, shocked if they saw how low your bill actually was, wouldn't they? Like, they did it mostly for the fun of it, but I actually think Monty spent more than you did.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. That's too bad on his part, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. But I guess he beat us, right? We're done.
Total monograph victory. I sue you, and then I quit. Therefore, I won. Obviously,
that's how it works. All right, man.
All right, man.
Great being on.
Well, thanks, man. Peace. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Marc Randazza. He's not really my lawyer anymore, I guess. Now he's just another lawyer, like not mine though. So that's cool. Well, now I hate him. Oh, damn it. And yes, you did hear the chirp. The chirp was happening, which I find hilarious as well. He's a guy who truly specialized in something, and it was the First Amendment, and he defends it ardently, valiantly, and effectively. And it's exactly why I hired him. When I got sued for defamation, he was the first choice that I had. I was like, well, I'm going to hire Randazza, I guess, because you need someone. Was it the right move? I mean, we won, so yes. It wasn't the tack that I expected to take, but that's because he's on a different level of First Amendment law than I am. And I'm a free speech guy. I'm a ton of fun, lots of fun. I'm a fun guy, ton of fun. But he's on a completely different plane of it. And so the approach that they took involves some novel concepts to me, and some of them didn't work, and then other ones kind of behind the scenes did, and it worked out. There are my legal issues are far from over, right? And I see a lot of people in the chat saying good luck tomorrow and stuff like that. With the harassment restraining order taken out against me by Aaron Imholt, he received an ex parte order. It was supposed to be, my hearing is supposed to be today. However, Aaron has hired a lawyer, and his lawyer was unavailable for the hearing today. So it got pushed back 8 days to July 23rd. So my hearing will be on July 23rd. And that's when we will address this. Let's just say it's a frivolous harassment restraining order. let me hit some of these super chats because I know there's some questions about these different things. We'll talk about it a little bit. I can't say everything, but I can say pretty much anything. The only thing I can't do is attempt to contact him, which I don't want to do. I don't want to contact him at all. I have not attempted to contact him or anything like that. I think I sent a super chat back in September of last year or something. Other than that, he's just who he is, and that's a whole ball of wax. But we'll talk about all that stuff, and I want to go through the things that we sent to Montegraph. I want to go through those questions, and the questions that the moment that we sent them over, like they sent my production of Discovery responsive to their requests, and then we demanded some Discovery back. And the moment we sent those questions, withdraw. They want it out. They want it out of that case right away. And I can't speculate at all on what the answers would be. Some people can infer, like, the way you structure a question. I didn't write these questions, right? My legal team drafted that. But the way you structure a question, a lot of times you can infer the answer that you may desire. That's a very, very different thing than the answer the person may produce. Like, you want them to be the same, right? You want the question or the answer that you desire to be the thing that they produce, because then that confirms your theory of the case, and it could be legally advantageous. That's why you asked the question in the first place. But just because you can, I'm only saying this for legal purposes. Some of the questions you may be able to infer what is being sought out, right? But you cannot use that to infer that that's what would be answered. I have no idea what Montegraph would answer on any of this. I find it very interesting and curious that when he got these questions, that he's like, I'm withdrawing, right? Like he's talked a huge game this entire time about everything, and what he did was run away the moment he had to answer back for anything. But that being said, I can't speculate on why. But I do want to go through those with you guys. First Best GG, welcome to Paralegal Status. Thank you. Maddie B says, why did you let Monty give up the lawsuit? Because there's no reason for it to continue for me. Like Mark said, the goal when you get sued is to get out of being sued. That's the goal. What could have happened is we could have continued the lawsuit and taken it through trial. And let's say, hypothetically, I win and am awarded all of my legal fees or whatever sanction from Montegraph. He's broke. He's broke. I'm not getting... You can squeeze a dusty orange and try and get apple juice out of it. It's not going to work. There's no money there. There's nothing to take. So with that said, I would be going and fighting on principle, which is great, except Mark's depiction of what is a low bill and mine are a little bit different. Mine could have been much, much higher. He did offer a lot of opportunities to have that bill reduced. In fact, my lips are still chapped and my throat still hurts. But that being said, it's still very expensive to do. And to take anything to trial is obscenely expensive. So forcing the lawsuit to go on wouldn't have really done me any good at all. The end of the day, I'm throwing good money after nothing. And that just doesn't seem prudent to do. But that's the main reason. My objective from the start was end the lawsuit, get out of it. Like it shouldn't have existed in the first place. It was frivolous. Speaking of which, just because I'm bad at advertising this, and I need to put it on the preview video or something. The super tip system is here. Supertip.gg. You guys on the night crew haven't played around with it as much as we did during the trial. And and it's the ability to participate a little bit differently, to use AI generated voices to basically read a super chat. So for example, this one came in. This one maybe came in on a different day. I don't even know. Where is it? Oh shit. Hold on. I have to re-log in, I think. This is my fault. I entirely ruined everything. You know what's funny is, like, people may have been sending in there may have been chats and I wouldn't have seen them. Yep, we got a bunch of them. Awesome. Here's the one I was going to play. It came in 5 days ago.
I watched last night's show, and to my surprise, a man-chicken hybrid afflicted my eyes. Perhaps 'twas my hunger that showed me that rooster. I rubbed my bleary eyes to see gay Lincoln Brewster.
What? What was that? But anyway, that should give you an idea of what the super tip system is. There's a bunch of voices on there. There are more to come. I'm waiting for them to make it so that I can like right now, the process of creating a voice involves sending it in and having them do it. I think eventually it'll be able to be created by me. Me, or, you know, really Ryan. Not Scott says, can you give us any updates about what happened today regarding Aaron's HRO? I can't give you details, but I can give you enough of an idea about the thing without the details. And it's very simple. Aaron proposed a settlement of the HRO, and the terms were laid out. And my response, which I don't think my lawyer faithfully delivered, my response was, get fucked. Nope, you're not getting out of this one. We're going to go to court on it. So that's how that went. That's how that went. So that's only in regards to me. That's not in regards to anybody else. But yes, I received a settlement offer on the frivolous bullshit HRO, and my response, yeah, again, get fucked. Coding Light says RE Drugs, Robinson versus California. I've not read this case. It looks like let's see, they sided with Robinson over California, and basically found that punishing addiction itself was a violation of the 8th Amendment, which is kind of cool. Like that's an interesting thing. The idea that you're punishing someone for what is perceived to be an illness is cruel and unusual, and I guess it is. I don't know, kind of weird. The 8th Amendment is a strange amendment when you really get down to it. I was talking to my kids about the 8th Amendment, because this is, I guess, what happens in car rides with dad. But I was talking to the kids about the 8th Amendment, and, you know, they were asking about cruel and unusual punishment and stuff like that. And I pointed out that the youngest person ever executed in the United States, and the 8th Amendment existed at this time because it's part of the Bill of Rights. It was right away. I mean, a little delay, but mostly right away. The youngest person ever executed by the United States was 12 in the records. So now we've determined that executing someone under the age of 18 is a violation of the 8th Amendment, which is crazy, because when the drafters of the 8th Amendment drafted it, they were executing minors down to the age of 12. So it's wild to see how the 8th Amendment has sculpted the government's ability to take the life of someone. I'm personally anti-death penalty these days, because I just have no faith in government to faithfully and competently carry out the death of one of its citizens. I just really don't think so. I think that we see too many errors, and I'm uncomfortable with that personally. People rotting in prison for the rest of their lives. for one, some people deserve that. Two, that means there's always an opportunity to advocate for your own innocence. Once you're dead, there isn't. And the government makes a lot of mistakes. The Squid says anti-drug laws are entirely race-based and economy-based. Correct. 100%. And it's funny because when they actually passed the anti-drug laws, the initial ones banning specific substances, they were just open about it because racism was cool back then. I guess it's becoming more in vogue now, but they were like on the Congress floor, and presidents would specifically lay out why they were opposed to various drugs, and a lot of it had to do with specific races. For weed specifically, the propaganda was anti-Mexican, fueled by the fear that hemp would replace cotton and other industries. Right. And, for cocaine, which I've just read a lot about cocaine. I'm sorry for talking about it. But when you do something a lot, you read about it just to, I don't know. I do anyway, to know what I'm doing. But so I read about it a lot. And the thing that you find is that one, Central and South American economies, obviously they didn't want them benefiting from the cocaine trade. The other thing, they used propaganda, very anti-black propaganda. They said that black people were more accurate shooters on cocaine, and that they obtained some sort of super retard strength, which was amazing. That's like, yeah, when they're on cocaine, they can just rip arms off of bodies. Whoa, that's cool. It's not true, but it's cool. Rusty Shackelford says seatbelt laws are one of the most anti-American legal concepts in this country. And most people are brainwashed to think it's perfectly normal and reasonable for the government to police your body. Yes, I agree. And I'm a person who is autistically I'm like, you buckle your fucking seatbelt, right? Like, I won't drive if your seatbelt isn't buckled, because I've seen what happens. You're a danger to the other people in the car even. So, that's my personal opinion, but I don't think the government should have any say in whether or not anybody wears a seatbelt at all. Maybe there's something to, if you don't seatbelt your child and your child gets injured, that's probably a problem, child endangerment. But child endangerment exists without a seatbelt law. It's not necessary to cover it. And you find that a lot with a lot of these particular laws, is that what you're really trying to do is prevent the bad outcome. But it's like, you already have a law that says we don't want this bad outcome. It's just not specific to how this bad outcome is produced. And so seatbelt laws fall right in there. I'm 100% with you on that. The idea that I cannot put myself in danger is very strange. And the arguments for it are always like, well, but then we have to take care of you. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't have to. The government chooses to do this. The government chooses to, send an ambulance out, and although most ambulances are private, but you still get the idea, that these services do exist. These public services, even when they're run by private companies, they exist, and they exist to address these outcomes. But it's like, why can't I put myself in danger? Why can't I do that? And the frustrating thing about seatbelt laws, and then really any laws that involve cars, is that because they call driving a privilege, and they've licensed the ability to use roads, I guess, since they were somehow successfully swindled courts into finding this acceptable, they can do anything to your car. In Minnesota, they found that a car on a public roadway is a public space for the purposes of the Fourth Amendment, which is a crazy thing to say. Oh yeah, we don't really need any justification to search your vehicle now. It's like, whoa, okay. The Black Blade says, hey man, any advice for a 13-year marriage that feels like we're having serious differences personality wise? Yeah, actually I do. What you're going to find is about every 7 years of your relationship. I don't know how long you knew each other before you got married, but around every 7 years, you're different. You're a different person than you were. Massive change. And people find this 7 years is a pretty common statistic for how long people stay in a home. A lot of times, or for how long people stay in a career or a job within a career. Lots of people make big changes around every 7 years, or they make a lot of little changes that amount to a big change when you take a snapshot at year 1 and year 7. That means that the person that you married is similarly not the person that they were 7 years prior. You're probably on your second round of it. I don't know if you had anything in your at the 7th year or not. Maybe you didn't notice it. Maybe it was a smooth thing. But I think that you find that the person isn't the same person. You have to make the choice to fall in love with them again, or to maintain it, and they do too. So what you have to do is when you feel like you're drifting and that you're not there, you have to be extremely intentional about, about one, your external actions towards your spouse, but also your internal thoughts and feelings about them. You have to choose that, and you have to choose it much more consciously than you did before. And what you find is you either go back together or you don't, right? Like you either find each other again or find the new person or you don't. And we live a lot longer than when marriage started. And so now people go through these cycles longer and longer, and you find people late in their relationships drifting apart and then saying, well, there's no going back. So my advice is, if you love your wife or spouse, I don't know, I assume the black blade is probably a dude. If you love your spouse and you want to get, you want to stick with them, then you have to turn on the intentionality and maybe have a conversation about it and be like, hey, we're really fucking different, but I still like you. And so let's figure this shit out. Let's find out what have we been missing the past 7 years and past 13 years, if you want to do it that way. It doesn't really matter. What have we been missing? What do we not know about each other? You're going through life together, but I bet there's a bunch of shit you don't know that's changed. So find it out. It's interesting that you picked that person because you were interested in them in the first place. Grifty says, why did Melton show his O-face when you texted him and he called the lawyer? Sorry if you already addressed it. I can't talk about anything regarding Melton. I don't know. He just laughed at what I texted him, which was, I told him basically what I just said on here, in that there was a settlement offer and my answer was get fucked. So Jake Hudson says, a year ago I told Aaron to stop talking about your case, but he don't listen to me. Hashtag FSTMS. He'll do what he does. The crazy thing is I haven't acted in any way to impede or to stop him. I mean, he did commit a crime, and that crime was reported by the victim of the crime. I assisted in the report because I was a witness to a lot of what, happened, including, the victim's reaction and all that stuff. So like that, but I didn't even want that to happen. There's this weird conspiracy theory that that was this moment where I could take advantage. It's like, what it wasn't really going to give me an advantage in the case. It maybe was going to limit or disqualify Aaron's testimony, maybe, but that was a long shot, that's the mile out sniper shot, right? Like you have no guarantee that that's going to work. So what you have instead is this thing that I didn't want, which was I didn't want anything to do with any of the witnesses in my case until my case was resolved, and then it was like, once my case is resolved, I'll be able to start to address this stuff. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. So his committing a crime accelerated the timeline on that and required action, frankly. That being said, I would have preferred that not to have happened. That would have been ideal. Not committing the crime would have been much better for everyone involved, including him. But yeah, aside, I don't know. I don't get it. I try not to talk about him on the show because it's not relevant to this show, but I do freely talk about him on other shows where it makes sense. Let's see. What do we have here?
What's the difference between a vampire and a lawyer? While they're both blood-sucking parasites requiring ritualistic execution, vampires tend to be snazzy dressers while lawyers look like dweebs.
These are facts. These are undeniable facts.
Don't forget about our hate factory. Your 800 fuckface minions demand our respect. Is Randazza staying on for the federal government RICO case?
Yes, Randazza. Actually, Randazza is switching sides, and he's spearheading the case against me as the RICO case against me. Your 800 fuckface minions. That was good. That got me. But no, I would never forget about the hate factory. And if you don't know, this guy, what was his name? Is like Kevin Featherly or something, is a lawyer in Minnesota who writes for this trade publication called Minnesota Lawyer. And you can find it in lawyers' offices, and it's all about Minnesota law or whatever. And there's an article about me in one of them. I really want I want the originals. I want to put them up on my wall, and I don't have them. But it was like, Minnesota lawyer creates online hate factory. And I was like, whoa, that sounds awesome. I must be cool if I manage that. But he wrote this just really shitty hit piece article. It was pretty good. I liked it. All my law school friends started calling me and texting me. They're like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like, I'm a hate factory, baby.
Do you know the Melon Man? He lives on Crazy Lane. Fear the Spear Italy Man. Do I have to change my name back to Monty's Well-Abused Melons? Also, in case anyone forgot, Monty is a pedophile. Monty is a pedophile. Monty is a pedophile who fucks melons with a micropene.
I mean, a pedophile? Do you guys, on an unrelated topic, do you guys find it weird that everybody they're like, okay, they won't say rape, they say grape, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, you're not children. Just say, like, you just say rape. You're talking about, usually it's in reference to an article or something like that, right? And they're talking about a rape that occurred, and they're discussing it because it's in the news, like that's what's happening. But they're like, yeah, and then the grape occurred, and it's like, the grape didn't occur. The grape is not. No. What are we doing? We're fucking adults here. Like, get over it. And they're like, me add dollars, me add pennies. It's like, I've said rape plenty of times, and those that doesn't get me demonetized. I'm sure the Randazza interview got me demonetized in some way. Something bad happened there. But the same thing, like, people have stopped saying pedophile. It's like, just say pedophile. Like, saying PDF file is weird. That's a fucking foot fetishist. You can't be like, a pedophile is a different thing than a pedophile. So when you say PDF, that's a different thing. Stop it. Grow the fuck up.
I was in the process of going to bed, and then you were live. Unfortunately, I'm in Utah, where getting whiskey is harder than getting a third wife. Guess I'm dealing with Nick sober tonight.
Dude, I would not want to buy liquor in Utah. Well, you can't.
Who is this guy? A Miami Vice character.
Kind of seems that way. Randazza. So one of the things I've learned about, some of the veteran lawyers out there, who you find on social media, is their backstories are wildly interesting. They've lived some life. They usually have things. That's why it's so funny. Like, this idea that, people are like, oh, the way you talk, the words that you use, like, you're a lawyer. can't believe you talk like that, or can't believe you drank so much. You were a lawyer, you know, when I was drinking, or can't believe you got caught with cocaine. Like, you're a lawyer. It's like, yes. Have you met them? They're terrible people. They're just fucking monsters running around masquerading as good people in suits. Nope. They're all bad. Binger. I'm 100% binger. It's binger. Why can't you speak? What's wrong with this? We're going to have to tell the AI voice that it's wrong. Rusty Shackelford says part of the problem is TY chat. Okay. Yes. YouTube chat. It's YT chat. Blocks comments with certain words. I wasn't talking about you guys. Sorry. I should clarify. I wasn't talking about the chat when I was saying about saying pedophile and grape. I'm talking about content creators. I'm talking about the people on the screen talking who audibly say these things, and that's fucking weird. Getting around a YouTube censorship thing, you know, with like a code word or whatever, I get it. Like that's fine. I don't like hearing a creator say it. I think it makes it sounds so, I don't know. It's wrong. It's the wrong word, and that irritates the shit out of me when people use the wrong word.
Super tips won't allow you to say pedophile in the proper spelling. And apparently, Ronnie can't say it either.
Really? Okay, hold on. Huh. I know there's more moderation like controls coming. They actually have created some new ones that are here, but they don't give me the chance to do that. But there are more moderation tools coming, so hopefully that'll get rid of this problem. Because I prefer to I prefer to let people kind of say whatever they want. Can we stop saying creator when the correct term is streamer? Maybe, but it's not just streamers. It's people who do non-stream videos as well. Checkmate, lawyered. Get out. Okay. Let me find this document. I've got it somewhere. Someday maybe we should go through the anti-slap motion that we filed and then unfiled. That whole story on the here we go. That whole story on the anti-slap was something wild. I don't know how to say it other than that. It was something else. They agreed to a time extension on filing the anti-slap, and then we filed the anti-slap, and they're like, no, they can't do it now, and they're delaying. It's like, wait, but you agreed to extend the time, so you knew we were going to file it, and then we filed it before the deadline. So it is very, very awkward. The Squid says content creators do it because YouTube downgrades you in the algorithm when you say certain words in non-stream videos. Oh, well, there you go. Maybe that's my problem. So I guess I can't, like, what? I can't say faggot, rapist, pedophile? Like, am I not allowed to say this? Is this even America? What the fuck?
Lincoln Brewster is a musician with a giant, stupid mohawk.
I was calling you gay because of your haircut, fag hot.
That's acceptable. That's 100% acceptable. I got it. Okay, I didn't know who Lincoln Brewster was. Why does he have a giant mohawk? Why would you do that? All right, here we go. Let's stop it. Fucking thing. Okay, here, let's get this. All right. So back to what I was saying earlier and kind of the purpose in this. One of the things I wanted to do, but when we had Mark here, I just wanted to talk to him. I didn't want to go through a document because that gets boring. Did I turn purple, or is that only on my end? Am I purple when I do this again? Yeah, I've got this weird like purple and blue stuff. Like my hair is blue and there's now purple on my mouth. Like I sucked off a unicorn. Very strange. But I don't know if that's coming through or if that's just on StreamYard site. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, all right. So here we go. This is our demand for, this is our interrogatories demand. So this is where you, again, in Minnesota, you get something like 50 questions that you can ask. But that's all you get. And they pretty much have to answer them. So there's a bunch of stuff that happens earlier. Definitions. This is like, so you don't weasel out of a question or whatever. You lay out what the terms Rekieta, defendants, and defendant encompass Nicholas Rekieta, including any of his other entities, companies, partnerships, or corporations. They also include all parent or subsidiary organizations, affiliates, chapters, agents, representatives, attorneys, or anyone else acting on his behalf and under defendant's control, and expressly includes but is not limited to Nicholas Rekieta, Rekieta Law LLC, and Rekieta Media LLC. So you lay these things out. I'm not going to go through each of these. Communication means any correspondence, email, contact, discussion. Again, lawyers, right? Like they lawyer out all these words like, oh, we got to get real precise. So this is getting precise and saying what you mean. One of the funny things was in their production request for me, they defined YouTube, but they defined YouTube or not YouTube, sorry, LawTube. They defined out the term LawTube, and you're like, okay, so what are they going to say LawTube is? What they said LawTube was actually the original LawTube channel, and I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's this tiny YouTube channel that's been around for fucking ever, and it was one of the complicating factors in the term LawTube at all. Is like you can't use this. Someone else actually, for some ungodly reason, actually had a channel called LawTube, and they posted content. So you'd be running into trademark issues if you actually tried to use it because they were using it in commerce. But that's what their definition of LawTube was. So it's funny because any of the questions that they had about LawTube, it's like, okay, fuck you. Nope, doesn't apply. But that's what they wrote down for their terms. So then there's instructions on how to answer the questions. This is all boring. And so then we get to the interrogatories. Now these are, you only get 50 of them. And so you want to word the questions very carefully, right? Like you want to word them very intentionally and all of that stuff. What is this?
What is the difference between Anne Frank and Santa? The direction they go in the chimney. Now that I've offended the Jews, who has a smaller micropene? Kurt or Monty?
I don't know. I just got it. Shit, fucking. I can't answer that question correctly. It can't be done. You've created a paradox. I need a quantum processor for this. All right. So you only get a limited number of these questions. And so they're worded, very carefully. And again, I cannot speculate on why he did not answer these questions, but he did not answer any of them. The moment we sent them over, they sent back the withdraw and run away request. So interrogatory number 1, identify in detail and describe all factual bases that you believe support or refute any inference that you may have engaged in inappropriate conduct with minors, including any facts, behaviors, or omissions you are aware of that may contribute to such an inference. That's a bitch of a question, isn't it? That's a bitch of a question. So explain the ways in which you're a fucking creep. Oh, okay. Got it. Interrogatory number 2, identify any statements made by you, including but not limited to social media posts, videos, photographs, or other materials that could be interpreted by a reasonable person as suggesting or implying that you engaged in inappropriate conduct with minors. So what I need you to do is go through anything you've said, and things that other people may have said about you. And you need to find out and identify and tell us what would suggest or imply that you were inappropriate with a minor. Like that's again, it's one of those questions that for me it's pretty simple to answer that question. Not a goddamn thing. Next. But for other people, it's not that easy to answer that. Interrogatory 3. State with specificity whether any other person has accused, called, or labeled you a pedophile, child molester, or similar term. And if so, identify the date, the person making the accusation, the circumstances, and any documents evidencing or relating to such accusation. Now, I can't speculate on what what he would answer here. But this is an interesting question just based on the known public facts of the case. And one of those public facts is that I was introduced to Montegraph on a stream by Medicare, in which Montegraph was losing a lawsuit because a guy, I believe his name was Drummer 88 or something, called Montegraph some brand of pedophile or child molester. And Montegraph lost his defamation lawsuit against that guy. And so that was, Jim and I did a stream, and we went through the filings and we went through the case. And it was funny. Like, it's a funny stream, if I remember right. Jim was on there, so at least half of it was funny. And so, there's at least one instance where someone has done this and it resulted in a lawsuit, and that lawsuit was part of the conversation. So one would assume that would be part of the answer. Now, this is publicly known, this is not new material, right? So, but that's still an uncomfortable question to answer when the answer is anything other than nothing. Interrogatory number 4. And if you're on the internet in 2025, you've probably been accused at some point. So, depending on the size of the accusation, in this case, that resulted in a lawsuit, there's a record of it, and there's a record of you knowing about it. So that makes it that makes it uncomfortable, because some things people might go, oh, I didn't see that, right? Lots of stuff gets said on the internet that you'll never see, right? It may even be about you. You'd never know. Interrogatory number 4 says, identify and describe in detail all emotional distress, mental anguish, or psychological harm that you claim to have suffered as a result of defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint. And this is a good question. This is, he alleged all of this stuff. So talk about it, because it's not in the complaint. Identify and describe in detail all documents, bills, or records that relate to or evidence the damages you claim to have suffered as a result of emotional distress or psychological harm caused by defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint. One of the things that was always lacking in this case was a claim of damages. They generally alleged that there were damages. They never came out with even an estimate of what the damages would be. And, that was really going to be a big problem for their case. Now, they did, I believe, they claimed that some of the defamatory statements were per se defamation. That means that they get to presume that there are damages, and they don't have to identify them with specificity to fulfill the element. But to make a recovery, they would have to, at that point, they would have to lay out how they were harmed. But it just gets them past the damages element. So on some of the statements, they could have, gotten past that one element. Remember, there's 5 elements of defamation. So that one element of the claim, they could kind of breeze through. But when it got down to if they won and there was a verdict and an award, then that award would be determined not by the rules of per se defamation. They would have to actually prove out their damages. Number 6, identify each and every healthcare provider, therapist, or counselor from whom you have sought or received treatment for emotional distress, mental anguish, or psychological harm allegedly caused by defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint, including the dates of treatment, the nature of the treatment, and the costs incurred. Again, when you make a claim of emotional distress, you can't just say, well, I'm emotionally distressed. You have to show it. And by showing it, you typically have to seek treatment of some sort under Minnesota law. And so it's like, okay, well, now you have to show us that there is, a record of this mental health issue, because mental health issues are not obvious. I mean, well, sometimes they are, but like emotional distress isn't obvious to the outside world. So you have to go in and, you start getting treated for it. And then an expert can talk about like what type of treatment you may need, the duration, the intensity, the frequency, all of that stuff. And so then that helps you develop a damages number. If you're not going to any of those things, if you're just claiming emotional distress and not going to them, this question would be very difficult to answer. I don't know. We'll never know if Montegraph was actually like seeking treatment, for the injury he said he suffered. I have no idea. Number 7, identify all persons who have knowledge of your emotional or psychological condition allegedly caused by defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint, including family members, friends, coworkers, or medical professionals. For each identified individual, this is how you gather witnesses, right? Provide contact information for that individual, including the person's name, email address, home or business address, and telephone number. So you get this information. You would then use that information to work on your deposition list or your witness list, or get witness statements, anything about it. See if the person actually agrees. See if they have witnessed that and say, yes, I agree. Number 8. Identify all persons or entities who ceased doing business with you or withdrew business opportunities because of defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint. For each identified individual or entity, provide contact information for that individual. So again, another one's like, okay, well, you say they interfered with your business. How? Show me the person who can verify. Yeah, I pulled away because I heard that guy was whatever. If you don't have people like that, then you're going to have trouble proving damages. And, part of the interrogatories is you want to gather their evidence also. Like you want to figure out what it is, because you want to go talk to these people. Number 9, describe in detail all reputational harm you claim to have suffered as a result of defendant's conduct alleged in the amended complaint, including any specific lost business opportunities, job offers, clients, employment, or income. I think Monty would have had a big problem with this because, as I stated, his reputation was not great prior to this. And you can say that I damaged your reputation all day, but you got to put up at some point and say, no, here's where that happened. One of the things that's interesting, for example, Aaron Imholt and Patrick Melton. Aaron has been calling Patrick Melton a pedophile for over a year now, I believe. I believe it's over a year. Don't nail me on the timeline. We'll just say roughly a year. And when we went to Stoney's bar, for example, the owner said that Aaron says you're a pedophile to Melton. Says it right to his face. And he says, I don't want to sell you a hat because I don't want to sell a hat to a pedophile. So now you know and can demonstrate that reputational harm has occurred. And that would be critical in a defamation case against this. And like, so the thing that Monty would have had to do is to produce something like that. The weird thing is, like, it still doesn't happen very often that someone says that. Like, if they want to disassociate, they just do, right? So number 10, state the total dollar amount or value of income, revenue, or business opportunities you claim to have lost. This is, again, going to damages, which I think was going to be, this is going to be a problem for Monty, was to show damages. It's not for any reason, not for any nefarious reason other than it's really hard because how do you know what actually caused it, especially in the realm of social media? You know, it's one thing if you get fired and your boss is like, hey, yeah, we heard online that you're, a child, whatever. It's like, okay, well, that's an obvious thing. But when you do this, it's like, okay, well, maybe you lost 400 viewers, but you don't know if it's from that or something else. You can have a guess. You don't have like a fucking exit survey. Describe in detail all the steps you've taken to mitigate the harm you claim to have suffered. I don't know on defamation specifically in Minnesota. I haven't checked, but some torts have a duty to mitigate where you have to try your best to mitigate any harm. And if you don't take reasonable efforts to mitigate the harm, the court can determine that, they can reduce the award that you would have gotten. So you should have mitigated it. And had you tried to mitigate it, the court estimates it would have been this much, et cetera. So that's why you would ask a question like that. What have you done to mitigate the harm? In some cases, if you don't mitigate the harm, the case can be dismissed out. Number 12, provide a detailed description of your professional activities as an entertainer, artist, and video producer, including the nature of your work, the platforms used for distribution, and your sources of income from January 1, 2020 to the present. So getting back into, you're gonna say that all this harm happened. Well, first show us what there is to harm. Good question. Number 13, state whether you have ever been investigated, charged, or convicted of any crimes, including but not limited to pedophilia or other crimes of moral turpitude, and provide details of any such investigations or proceedings. And this is a bold one here. Investigated, charged, or convicted. So not just found guilty, but has it ever happened? And part of the reason for this is that, some people, when they get accused of something, even if they're not convicted, people are able to reasonably determine that they believe that the person did the thing, even if they're not legally found guilty. And so they can have that belief or not. So you want to know about any of the accusations that may have been out there that made it to that stage. Number 14, describe any public statements, posts, or communications you have made about defendant Nicholas Rekieta or Rekieta Law from January 1st, 2022 to the present, including but not limited to social media posts, videos, or comments on live streams. So this is an interesting one. Montegraph has privated several videos in which he talked specifically about me and other people, like that umbrella guy, for example. He's privated those videos, but you have to describe them, and you have to do so accurately. And if there's something that the opposing party knows about that you try to obscure from them, that can be a big problem. That's a discovery violation. So you're supposed to be very candid about answering this question. Number 15, identify all witnesses you intend to call at trial to support your claims and provide a summary of the testimony you expect each witness to provide. This one is one that you ask, but you're going to get an incomplete answer at this point. Like, trial wasn't even it had been scheduled, but it had been rescheduled because we had extensions to everything. So it's like, there's not going to be a witness list yet. However, they probably have part of the witness list. And so you need to know. Again, you may want to depose these witnesses. You may want to get statements out of them. Number 16, state whether you contend that defendant statements were made with actual malice. This is the fifth element of defamation when a public figure is involved. Like, when you're talking about a public figure, you have to act with actual malice, which is knowledge of the falsity or reckless disregard for the truthfulness of the matter. You have to prove that they did it with actual malice. And that's a tough thing to do if you're found to be a public figure. We had our first ruling on the anti-slap, the judge called both of us public figures, but it wasn't necessarily in the findings. So it's kind of confusing as to whether or not the court would have considered either or both of us public figures. I mean, I think in regards to this matter, we probably both were, and that would have been the right answer. But hey, I don't know. That, of course, is an advantageous answer for me. I'm biased towards that answer. So take that for what you mean it for, or whatever. Number 17, identify all individuals, entities, or organizations, you believe saw, heard, or were otherwise exposed to the allegedly defamatory statements made by defendants, and describe how you became aware of their exposure to the statements. Interesting question. And then number 18, describe in detail all communications you had with defendant Nicholas Rekieta or any representative of Rekieta Law LLC from January 1st, 2020 to the present, including but not limited to emails, text messages, social media messages, phone calls, or in-person conversations, and provide the dates, times, and contents of each communication. So this one would be really hard just because that, like, and I don't mean this in any negative way. This one would be practically difficult for anybody in the same shoes as Monty, because some of the conversations or communications that he had with me were made in a Rumble chat. Well, the Rumble chat isn't preserved, but he alleges in his lawsuit that he made comments on Rumble, and I responded on the show on Rumble, on my channel and on Megan Fox's channel or whatever. And so they happened. So what were the contents of them? Like, that would be just a difficult one to answer because it's hard to get access to that data. Rumble doesn't preserve the chats. So there we go. Those are the interrogatories. Those are the questions we asked. And again, cannot speculate on what the answers would be or the reasoning behind not answering. But once we sent that document over in particular, that was the withdrawal occurred very, very quickly after that. So, Montegraph has cited a lack of funds, and that could absolutely be because, this case is about to get expensive in response to this, but I don't know exactly what his internal reaction was. So it's that's that. And people are able to draw their own conclusions from that. It's not up to me to guide that or speculate on it. I don't really care. I mean, I have my own personal thoughts as to why he withdrew, why he didn't answer the questions, etc. But they don't matter because the case is over. It's done. One of the problems, not problems, I guess one of the boons for me is that, he had sued me over this, but the statute of limitations clock still goes, excuse me. A voluntary dismissal or withdrawal is typically done without prejudice unless it's specifically stipulated to that it's with prejudice. Mine is not with prejudice. However, all of the statements were made over 2 years ago. So now trying to bring suit again on the same statements would run into statute of limitations questions and problems with it. So you don't get to just file lawsuits and then quit, and then file lawsuits and quit and extend the statute of limitations out forever. The courts don't want people doing that and kind of abusively making people sit under this pressure of a civil lawsuit for years and years and years. They really don't want that to happen because it's really stressful on people, and it's expensive and it's time consuming. And everybody would rather people just get back to fucking work rather than do all of this stuff. So, people can draw their own conclusions about all of this. But I wanted to just be open about what happened because it all happened very quickly. But yes, just finalizing that last point. Since all of the statements were made over 2 years ago, they'll all be time barred by the statute of limitations. So even though the withdrawal was made without prejudice, the statute of limitations effectively makes it with prejudice. So there you go with that. How many people have to know who you are to be a public figure? The truthful answer is one other one. Now that's a highly specific situation. But I think courts have found someone to be a public figure in a Facebook group with 13 people in it. But within that Facebook group, they were well known. And so therefore, even though the audience is only 13 people, the community itself that exists, they're a public figure within that community, and the matter in question was related to that community and that community's interests. So therefore, the person became newsworthy or whatever within that, or not newsworthy, but yeah, newsworthy within that community. And that, that made them a public figure. To be a general public figure, again, so not on the specific matter that's at question, but to be just a generally recognized public figure, you really need to get to the level of like A-list actor. Maybe you could say on YouTube, people with multiple millions of subscribers. But the idea of someone who is generally a public figure, not on a specific matter, but a general public figure, is if you walk down the street and you ask a couple people, do you know who this person is? They'll accurately describe them. Tom Cruise, like a Conan O'Brien, like a late night host, Jimmy Fallon or whatever. But they'd say, oh yeah, that's that guy on that show that they have on NBC or whatever. Like those types of people, that's the level of public figure for a general purpose. But again, there's two types. There's general public figure, and then there's the specific public figure. And the specific public figures are related specifically to what is happening in the lawsuit, the subject of the lawsuit. And so let's say that the community there's a defamation suit because someone at a local town meeting said something at the town meeting that was defamatory about someone else who's at the town meeting. Well, now like the community is this community, which is much smaller than millions of people, but they're a public figure on this subject within this community. And so that's kind of the analysis that the court goes through. It's really there's not a bright line rule on it, and it has a lot of subjectivity to it. So it's kind of useless. But yeah, I guess that's probably good for tonight. We've covered the matters that I wanted to cover, which is this is a me stream. This one was all about my issues. And the main thing is like the Monty suit is over, and it's really fucking great to not have it anymore. Because it was expensive and time consuming and stressful, and I don't recommend getting sued. But we were victorious. They cut tail and ran, and that was always what should have happened. That being said, the other thing I wanted to go through was the interrogatories. And I wanted to briefly talk about the big news of the day, which was the settlement offer on the restraining orders. And I wish I could tell you details about it because it's so fucking funny and it's so pointless. But yeah, again, my answer is get fucked, see you in court. And my date would have been today, the 15th, but it got moved to the 23rd at the request of Aaron's lawyer. So it'll be interesting to see what this lawyer comes up with, because he filed it clearly on his own, and now this guy is stuck with what he's stuck with whatever Aaron put down. Now he has to go into court and try and make this work. So we'll see. I'm fairly confident, but you never know what a judge is going to do. But I'm fairly confident because I've never threatened this person. I don't stalk or harass them or anything like that. Make fun of them, absolutely, because like you get to make fun of people in this country. Be critical of them, sure, but any sort of activity that would lead to an HRO, no, not at all. Nothing even close. And the stuff that's put in that HRO petition, he'll have to back it up. Because, I'm taking this one to court, and that's that. There's just not much else to say about it. I'm not going to have a bogus HRO sitting over my head. That's stupid. With that said, I think I'm going to roll out for the night. Here we go.
Another question you didn't read out. Please tell us why you keep fucking melons, and do you do it while watching Cooking with Kurt videos?
That's a good question. You can ask some, we were pretty light, right? 15 interrogatories. You can load up 50. Now, part of the reason why you don't just slap out 50 interrogatories is because you can ask different questions. You can ask for more. You can ask more interrogatories later if you don't use your maximum amount. So 15 leaves you 35 more to ask at a later time. Discovery is an ongoing process while the case is pending. Excuse me. And so, you know, but we only asked 15 questions. Could have asked quite a few more, and they can get pretty wild. Similar to a deposition. Deposition, you don't have a limit on how many questions you can ask, and they have to answer. And when Mark says that, you know, it was about to get really fun, there are some interesting depositions there. David Schneider made himself and all of his staff a witness, and his wife. So we could have deposed David Schneider, even though he was out of the case. He cut tail and ran from the case. We could have deposed him. We could have deposed his wife. We could have deposed any of his staff that he alleged said, "That's outrageous," after watching the videos. And asked them what they said. What was your reaction? You didn't actually say this, did you? You said something else. You know, you start asking those questions, and then things get really messy and ugly really quick, because it kind of looks like someone may have told a little fib under oath. But that said, you know, we don't get to do that now, it's sad, but that's really expensive too, because you're paying an attorney for hours of questions and answers. And, you know, who wants to pay attorneys? Pay them no mind, pay them no heed, and don't pay your bill. This is legal advice. But with that, I'm going to roll out, should be a stream tomorrow as well. Tomorrow being Tuesday. We should have a stream on Tuesday. I probably won't have a stream on Wednesday. But looking to be streaming multiple times during the week again. Things were complicated by a bunch of civil matters, but we're gonna just push past that and say, fuck it. We've got a show to do. I would love to do a stream and do more cooking with Kurt. That's coming up. I'm really tired tonight, and I've got stuff to do in the morning tomorrow. So I will keep in touch. Make sure you follow on Locals or Twitter, wherever, to make sure that you're catching any show announcements. Also, my hilarity, which is unbridled, unrestrained, and unmatched. Really, there's no one funnier out there. There's no one out there making better comments. No one out there making more precise comments, more loving comments, more sexual comments, really. None. I'm kidding, of course. But make sure you follow along so that you know when anything is happening. And know that I really appreciate you guys, of course. And we'll see you very, very soon. One last thing. If you didn't see, I was on with Colonel Kurtz today. She was talking about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And then also she was talking about Epstein. I was on for about 40 minutes. Good discussion. Excuse me. I was on early on in the stream, about like an hour in, about 30 minutes to an hour in, somewhere in there. Go watch it. It was good times. It'll probably be clipped, but it was a good conversation and I enjoyed it. And I like when people support the channels that I guest on. So I should probably tell you where to do that. Colonel Kurtz, Kurtz. Colonel is spelled normally. She was big in the Johnny Depp trial. And she's got good stuff. Go check her out. That said, I may have other appearances this week. I'm not sure. I'll let you know if I do. Until then, see you guys soon. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitter and Erlang. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed This lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an art bag, a bow, more of love rug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Law-Splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Law-Splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have